Voting rights. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the conversation. I'm David Schuster. The battle in Texas continues to be intriguing between Democrats who are trying to block those Republicans who are trying to pass voter suppression efforts. A number of Democrats are still out of the state, denying Republicans the quorum there to try to move on their legislation. Joining us to talk about that and some races in general at the state level, Lala Wu. She's the executive director of Sister District. It is a grassroots organization that is building progressive power in state legislatures across the United States. Lala, thanks for joining us. What's the mood like that you're picking up in Texas right now?
The mood is very serious. I think that people are very concerned about the voting suppression bill that Republicans are trying to ram through the legislature. And it's so serious, and folks are taking it so seriously that, as you mentioned, over 50 Democrats walked out and moved and flew to Texas and found their way there because that was the only way that they could break quorum. The only red to blue flip in the 2020 election was Representative Ann Johnson, who represents Harris County, parts of Houston, and Sister District did support her in her win last year. And she is an incredible leader who's become a leading voice in this fight. And we have had the opportunity to be in close touch with her, to hear what it's like on the ground. And let me tell you, people have really suffered tremendous sacrifices, made a lot of, took a lot of risks to break this quorum, and they are going to be going back to Texas soon to risk arrest, electoral challenges. One woman even had to postpone her wedding. So really, like, this has been a very, very dramatic action that folks have taken because of the importance of the matter.
You mentioned Ann Johnson. I believe she was just elected back in 2020. So this is essentially her first term. How is this cutting politically? Is she expecting this to hurt her, the fact that she has left the state, or is it rallying progressives towards her side?
The thing is that they are doing, the Democrats, Representative Johnson, as well as the other Democrats, are doing this because this is the right thing to do, because they feel that this is the way that they can make an impact and that they can raise the profile of this issue. I do think that many will see this as a very courageous move and will stand behind Representative Johnson as well as the others. But there is also some risk involved, and that is something that they are willing to do because of the importance of this issue.
So what does Sister District do to try to help somebody like Representative Johnson or other lawmakers that are taking a courageous stand and may face a tough election battle as a result?
Absolutely. Representative Johnson, the other Texas Democrats, as well as Democrats across the country in battlegrounds who are fighting these types of voter suppression bills, need all the help that they can get. And so what Sister District does, as you mentioned, is build progressive power in state legislatures through a variety of methods. The most well-known, that we are most well-known for, is our Cornerstone Field and Fundraising Program. We've got about 50,000 members all across the country organized into local chapters, and we sister these up like a sister cities concept with 2 to 4 state legislative candidates per year for support. And then the teams, these chapters, will raise money, make phone calls, write postcards, send texts, and hopefully this year, pandemic permitting, we'll be able to travel and go knock on doors. So for example, I'm here in San Francisco, and my team last year supported 2 Texas candidates as well as 2 Arizona candidates. And this way we get to build these communities across geographies and really help to channel resources where they are to where they can be most effective.
A lot of our viewers may be familiar with the organizing effort for federal elections, presidential elections, state federal elections. Is it different though when you're talking about state legislatures in terms of the messaging or the communications or the community organizing?
Yes, state legislatures give you an incredible return on your investment. And so for any folks out there who are thinking about what their next move is in terms of civic engagement, state legislatures are really, really incredible bang for your buck. A lot of times these state races are quite small, maybe 10,000, 20,000 voters total. Oftentimes we see win margins of just 200, 100, maybe sometimes just 13 votes. In 2017, we fell literally one vote short of ending a Republican majority in the Virginia State House of Delegates. And that was literally a single vote, a single representative who was not elected. But Sister District and many others came back and supported her again. Her name is Shelly Simonds, now Representative Shelly Simonds in 2019, and she was able to win. The challenging thing about state legislatures is that they're not as sexy as you kind of alluded to. They're not at this federal level. They don't get all of the headlines, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change something about that because state legislatures are really where the rubber hits the road in terms of policy. The policies that impact your everyday life, mine and others, so many of them are really happening and enacted at the state level. And so it's absolutely critical that we turn our attention to this level of government. This is also true for redistricting. In most states control redistricting, which is of course, how we can get at the problem of gerrymandering as well.
Well, is it fair to say that the other side, Republicans, are also putting some more of their focus and attention at the state and local level?
Oh, they are, and they have been, and they are way, way, way ahead of us, unfortunately. We are at the very beginning of hopefully, some long-term 40-year type planning, but Republicans have been doing this for decades already. Back in 2010, the Republicans implemented a program called Red Map, where they essentially moneyballed the districts, and they looked at state legislative races across the country. There are about 7,000. They picked the ones in the key states, the ones where they thought if they flip these districts, these candidates, and then put them into power, they can get Republican majorities and then redistrict the bleep, if you will, out of all of these states. And they were able to do so successfully in 2010. They built themselves a very strong structural advantage that has been hard for us to overcome, but we are still fighting it today. And so it's very, very important that we focus on the states.
And as part of your focus on the states, I know that you're encouraging a lot of LGBTQ candidates to get in and get more involved. How have things changed in terms of public acceptance at the local level, at a really sort of fundamental grassroots level for LGBTQ candidates?
Absolutely. For LGBTQ candidates, as well as candidates of color, women, it's really been incredible to see the increasing diversity of folks who want to run for office, whether disabled or young people or anyone from the new American majority, really. It's been really, really incredible and inspiring to see all of the people who are stepping up. And we're really proud to work with a lot of partners to recruit some of these folks. For example, the LGBTQ Victory Fund, Run for Something, Emily's List, all of these organizations that are both old and new that help to support candidates who are going to be the future and who are going to bring representation to all levels of government to make sure that we can fight back against these racist and disableist voter suppression bills, as well as all of the rafts of other legislation that are very, very harmful to our democracy.
It does feel like local politics is perhaps much more hospitable to candidates who are newcomers, people who are teachers or small business owners or doctors who don't really have a lot of political experience and may not have served, say, on the city council or the School of Education board that may have prepared them or may have been the traditional way towards running for office. For somebody who is a newcomer to politics at the local level, what's the process in terms of reaching out to an organization like yours to try to enlisting your help and seeing whether this is something they want to do?
Absolutely. I encourage everyone to check out sisterdistrict.com. This is where they can learn all about our programs and our opportunities to get involved. If you yourself are thinking about running for office, would suggest you check out our friends Run for Something, especially if you are under 40. That is their specialty. And they've got a variety of programs and opportunities to help. And then also just looking in your local community for different organizations, ways to get involved. Many commissions, local positions don't require an election. Actually, there may be a way for you to be appointed, etc. All of these opportunities are incredibly important. And as you alluded to, they build the pipeline. That's another reason that state legislatures, we think at state and local, are so important, is that they are the pipeline for national leaders. For example, almost half of our past presidents once served as state legislators, and this is where they can learn to govern, learn to win. And it's incredibly important that we get folks of all kinds into this level of government.
And for a grassroots organization like Sister District, how do you measure success? Is it purely by how you do at in the elections, or is it sort of the inroads that you're making?
It's all of the above. So we are definitely looking at, what is our win rate? Are we winning these races? And we don't always we don't go for a 100% win rate. We want to see something quite a bit lower than that to know that we are working on these tough races. And then we also look for outsized impact. So for example, in 2020, Sister District raised an average of 10% of our candidates' total donations. And we made an average of 34% of their total phone calls, which in a pandemic year is a really remarkable part of their field program. So we're incredibly proud of this. And the fact that over 80%, up to 88%, I believe, of our phone calls and our dollars went to races that were decided by single-digit margins. So we at Sister District in particular are really looking and measure success by the kinds of resources that we're driving to these close competitive races.
Lala Wu, she's the executive director of Sister District. And Lala, good luck to you, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, David.
You got it.
We are onto something that is going to be amazing, but what we need is your help.
The number one problem is there's too much power in too few hands.
Every single problem that we have can be traced back to dark money.
They take large donors, they serve large donors.
So these handful of gatekeepers try to dictate everything.
Like all of you already know, they don't work for you, they work for their donors. So fire them and hire people who will only work for you, that say no corporate back money.
We are going to change the way we elect candidates in this country.
Uncorrupted Democrats. We're gonna fight for the issues and win on policy.
This is incredibly personal. We need free health care for everyone.
We're fighting for $15 minimum wage, single payer health care, debt-free college, and we are gonna get money out of politics once and for all.
I've taken a public pledge not to accept any corporate money.
Because the last thing we're gonna do is go into another presidential election and run a corporatist against a populist candidate.
At some point, the buck needs to stop, and it's gonna stop with us. It's gonna stop with Justice Democrats.
So who are we?
People who do not take corporate PAC money.
We're relying on small donors.
99.9% of our contributions came from people.
You're a Justice Democrat, so you don't take any corporate PAC money.
I'm not influenced by money.
As a Justice Democrat, I made that pledge.
Not a penny.
Absolutely no.
I will go to Congress unbossed and unbought.
We try to create a government which works for all of us.
That is what America's about, and that's what a representative democracy should be about.
We are just getting warmed up here.
Vote for uncorrupted Democrats. The fight starts now, it starts today, and it starts with you.
I've been honest with him. Like, yeah, I was upset with you and I shouldn't have done it. But instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course! So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you. Okay. Now you could also choose if you want to do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you want to know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top. No. No. No.
today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information, and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
Welcome back to the conversation. I'm David Schuster. We're starting to get some fascinating details on what will be the largest civil action settlement in US history. It involves $26 billion proposed settlement against some of the biggest players in the pharmaceutical industry. This has to do with the opioid crisis. And joining us to talk about this is Peter Mouget. He's an attorney at the Levin Papantonio Rafferty law firm, which has been involved at the heart of this. Peter, first of all, explain what are some of the details involving the settlement? Why is it so significant?
Well, there's two main pieces to this. One is the monetary relief, and two is the injunctive. $26 billion with just 4 of the first defendants goes a long way with creating some much needed treatment, education for those that are at the heart of this epidemic. But then secondly is the injunctive relief, which I think is just as powerful as the $26 billion. There's game-changing, transformative conduct that is going to be required of the defendants that will prevent any further problems going forward and will help us get the opiate epidemic kind of abated or stopped here in the near future.
What are some of these specific steps that these pharmaceuticals, these drug makers have to now do?
The biggest component on the injunctive relief is the clearinghouse. So every single pill made in the United States, there's over 100 billion over the last 10 years, are tracked from the manufacturer to the distributor to the pharmacy. So we can trace a pill starting as it's made, rolling off into a bottle, shipped to the distributors and then shipped to the pharmacies. And what the distributors were required to do and why they have stroked a check for $21 billion is because they were supposed to design a system to identify suspicious orders of unusual size, frequency, or pattern, and they didn't do it. And once they identified a suspicious order, they were supposed to perform due diligence before it was shipped. Now, this clearinghouse is going to be run, since the defendants couldn't do it themselves, we've now hired a third party that's going to run a red flag algorithm through all of this data, pop on these suspicious orders, and ensure that due diligence is performed before the order is shipped. That will help close all of the loopholes in the system to ensure that these suspicious orders aren't making their way to pill mills across the country. That's
Peter, I wonder if you can describe what you have found in terms of the devastation to a lot of communities by the opioid crisis.
It's heartbreaking. You go into communities around the country and it's impacted communities in different magnitude. There's no doubt that there's every community in the US has been hurt, but there are communities across the country where you go to playgrounds or out in public spaces and there are needles and spoons with heroin and pill problems on every corner. There are communities in this country where you don't have to look further than the house next door or across the street to find someone that's overdosed or died. It's reached every corner of this country. It's hit every different kind of socioeconomic group, and some communities are hit worse than others, but it is hit and every single community in this country and touched families everywhere. Devastated families everywhere.
And as I understand it, a large portion of the $26 billion will go right back to these communities. How will the money be spent to try to help them, to try to fix the problem, to try to support people who are going through this?
That's one of the issues that the defendants, the state attorney generals, the local government, and private counsel all agree on. 90% of the money that's secured in this settlement and paid for over a period of years will go back to treatment and education. So as opposed to tobacco, where in a lot of instances in a lot of states, the money's ended up in the general coffers and went to fixing potholes and covering budget shortfalls. That's not going to happen with this opiate money. 90% will be spent in our communities curbing the epidemic. Everything from educating kids that pills in mom and dad's medicine cabinets are just as dangerous as drugs you get on the street corners, to treatment beds, physicians to help create treatment plans, really runs the gamut, and it's flexible enough that communities can fashion it to meet their needs, because every community in the country is not the same.
Peter, I know that a lot of lawsuits, civil lawsuits, can be very adversarial between the parties. What was it like working with and working against the pharmaceutical companies? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Was there acknowledgement from the start on their role in all of this and what they needed to do? How would you describe this whole experience as a lawyer?
That's a great question, David. And quite frankly, it runs the gamut. We had different responses from different defendants. A lot of finger pointing in the beginning, blaming doctors, victims, DEA, you name it. Everybody had a place to point the finger. Some of the defendants embraced their role in the conduct early on. Some, for example, like Walgreens is a distributor and a pharmacy that continues to refuse to engage in any settlement negotiations and look themselves in the mirror and understand that they had a role in this, just like the other parties. So it runs the gamut. And I had the opportunity to be in the middle of the litigation side and the trial side and the negotiation side. And I will tell you that the negotiators that we dealt with as the faces of the companies wanted to address the problem and find solutions as much as anybody in the room. Litigating side was a different story, but I feel like the negotiation side, they were looking for solutions as well.
I know it's a very complex case to put together when you're talking about this many defendants and this many parties and this amount of money. What was there a moment when this really seemed to sort of gel, where it really seemed like, okay, this is going to work out?
You know, if it has, it still hasn't even crystallized yet. I know that these negotiations have been ongoing for years. I focus in my practice in what I would consider to be the most complex of the complex, and this is outside the stratosphere of anything I've ever done before, primarily to bring all of these local governments under the tent and the state governments. So up until today, we have a settlement proposal on the table. It is a Jenga game of pulling the sticks out at the bottom with it we need every single city and county and state in the country to work collaboratively together to get this across the finish line. So it continues to be very fragile going forward. And over the 6 months, only time will tell if we can all work together to get this across the finish line.
I can imagine the details of just going through the language and some of this must be remarkable. You mentioned the tobacco settlement, and while this is quite different, a lot of people point to the settlement with Big Tobacco as a major turning point in the war on tobacco. A number of studies suggested that tobacco use dropped significantly after that was a key inflection point. Do you see that being the same with the opioid crisis, or is there a difference in terms of the trajectory that the United States is on right now with opioids?
Well, last year, the data just came out and the deaths are up 30% from the year before, the data from the CDC. So unfortunately, we are still continue to be on the wrong trajectory. And a large part of that is as we kind of turn the spigot of pills off, we have a whole generation in our communities addicted to opiates. And they, out of desperation, they are now looking at heroin and other types of synthetics, opiates, and which are causing deaths to spike. So the pills are totally inversely correlated to heroin, and the folks that are addicted are looking for other spaces. The only thing to get us across the finish line and bring the deaths and overdoses down is going to be treatment and education. We can't arrest our way out of this problem, and we can't just cut the pills off.
And will that be the expectation that assuming the settlement does go through, somebody who a year from now looks up and says, oh my God, I'm addicted to opioids or heroin, they will have new opportunities, new avenues in their local community with which to get research, to which to get help in order to support them to wean them off of this?
David, that's our goal. We have worked with a team of experts on approved uses for 90% of the 26 billion that's going to go back into our community. So we've worked hand in hand in lockstep with those experts from the medical communities to create treatment and education programs to make sure that we start seeing these numbers trend downward over the next several years. It took us 20 years to get to this point and get to this Herculean problem we have now. It's not going to take us a year or two to dig out from it. This is a long-term problem. It's going to with a long-term solution, but hopefully we've got the building blocks in place to get us there.
And hopefully there'll be other people who are not just part of this. I'm thinking of doctors. I mean, there was the early finger pointing you mentioned at the doctors, but clearly there is a role, right, that doctors and others play in this who are not necessarily part of the settlement.
There is absolutely no question that there is blame to go around every side of the table. And it doesn't matter whether it's the regulators, it's doctors, it's everywhere. Everyone's got to look in the mirror and think, what can I do to help solve this problem? And but the refusing to accept responsibility for your particular space or the company's particular space is what we need to get this epidemic stopped.
And Peter, you mentioned local governments should be part of this. If somebody sees this and says, aha, I'm a town manager in, I don't know, Southern Indiana, how do they simply reach out to your law firm and say, okay, what can we do to sort of help shape this? Is there a process for these local communities?
The eligible cities and counties across the country will be receiving notice from their state attorney generals and from if they have hired counsel, from their counsel, all within the next 30 to 45 days.
Congratulations on your work so far, and good luck to you as you try to pull this thing across the finish line.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Kasparyan with you guys. Giant show ahead. So we've got heroes and villains. I mean, probably more so than any other day. We've got heroes like Nina Turner and other Just Democrats for different stories. And then unfortunately, a lot of Democratic villains, including Nancy Pelosi, Joe Manchin, Krista Sinema, Jim Clyburn. There's a lot to fight back against, and a touch of Republicans as well. But the big inter-party fight between Democrats is gigantic today, and the main topic of conversation. This details in the stories are amazing. Stay tuned for each and every one of them. All right, Casper, let's get started.
All right, well, let's talk about the congressional race for Ohio's 11th district. Shontel Brown, the corporate Democrat who's running against progressive candidate Nina Turner for Ohio's congressional seat in the 11th district, is facing an ethics investigation, potentially, over her handling of government contracts when she was part of the county council in Ohio. Now, she's currently part of the same council while simultaneously serving as the head of the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party. And recently, The Intercept reported on some of the sweetheart deals that took place that her donors and also a romantic partner of hers got to take advantage of. So here are the details on that. 10 weeks later, one of the firm's owners, well, this is in February 28th of 2017, Brown had said that she would recuse herself from any decisions regarding government grants to people that she knew. Now, 10 weeks later, one of the firm's owners helped organize a fundraiser that bankrolled a significant portion of her re-election campaign, making an in-kind donation of $2,000 at a fundraiser for Brown that netted her over $7,000, a significant sum in a low-budget world of Cleveland area council races. So that's what happened after she had already approved some funding to a general contractor called PERC, and PERC was actually associated with her romantic partner, a man named Mark Perkins. So she makes that decision. Immediately after that, about 10 weeks later, she offers another $7,000 grant, to the organization that had given her $2,000 in fundraising money. And in total, Brown has approved more than $17 million to PERC and has received $13,000 in campaign donations from the Perkins family and PERC's current owners, the Sifani family. And so these are illegal. There are very clear laws preventing this type of dealing from happening. One more graphic for you because it gives you a sense of what she was engaged in, which again goes against the state laws. Besides the $7 million contract in 2017, Brown also voted on 3 other occasions to approve Cuyahoga City contracts for PERC, totaling an additional $10 million between 2015 and 2019. And in August of 2020, she voted in favor of contracts of $1.875 million to 2 firms, one headed by Mark Perkins' sister. Remember, Mark Perkins is associated, that's her romantic partner associated with PERC. So this is Mark Perkins' sister, and a second whose former vice president is another family member of Perkins. PERC and McTech, a company owned by Mark Perkins, are frequent and longtime business associates. So I tell you all that because clearly she's offering or approving government contracts to her love interest. She's doing favors, very clear favors in the form of government grants to the individuals who have funded her campaigns. And so that kind of dealing is unacceptable according to state law, which I'll read to you in just a minute.
Okay, so there's 2 levels of corruption here. By the way, we don't care about her personal life. We care that she's giving contracts to someone who's her partner.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
And so the one corruption is obvious. Here, why don't I give you tens of millions of dollars in contracts with my official position? They're partners, that's number one. And then number 2, I'll get money from your campaign contributions from that business. I mean, getting the campaign contributions is corruption 101 in America. I know a lot of the media has gotten used to it. Well, of course, corporations give money and then the politicians serve them and not the voters. That's normal. They don't even report on it. So The Intercept doing a fantastic job of actually pointing out something that's illegal in this case And now apparently they're following up in Cleveland to see if she did in fact break the law and there should be consequences. Meanwhile, by the way, corporate Democrats, almost the entire Democratic establishment, seeing this huge corruption scandal, go, way to go. And they're pouring more money into her campaign, not less. If a progressive had the slightest little bit of controversy, everybody would be like, oh my God, you gotta get out, unendorsed, etc., right? There's a massive ethics controversy, but for corporate Democrats, which is almost all of Democratic leadership, that's not the bug, that's the feature. But the second level of the corruption is, remember, Brown is the head of the Democratic Party in this county, and everybody knows that if you're gonna run for office, you have to step down from being the head of the Democratic Party, because obviously you can't run the party in a neutral way when you're in a race within the party. She's like, no, I don't want to. No, I'm just gonna run the Democratic Party completely corruptly and to my own benefit. And by the way, that's why a lot of locals endorse Nina Turner, because they're like, no, well, that's obviously not right. I don't care who comes in from Washington and tells me that corruption is awesome. I know that if you're the head of the Democratic Party and you're in a primary, you have to step down. You can't rig the entire party in your own favor in a primary race. That's insane. Well, wait till they get a load of this ethics probe, and a lot of them have, and a lot of the endorsers have now switched to Nina Turner.
Right, so the Daily Poster reviewed emails showing that the Ohio State auditor has reviewed the allegations and they have referred the matter to the State Ethics Commission. And just so you know the details of what the state laws in Ohio indicate, under Ohio law, public officials are prohibited from knowingly authorizing or using their authority or influence to secure authorization of any public contract in which the public official, a member of the public official's family, or any of the public official's business associates has an interest. Violation of the statute is actually a felony and penalties can include prison time. Now, do I think she's actually gonna serve prison time? No, but this is something, after they do their investigation and they further confirm the Intercept's reporting on this, yeah, she broke the law and it is a felony in that state. And you're right, Cenk, if anything even remotely controversial happens, like for progressives, if Nina Turner had allegedly done something controversial, you have no doubt that Democrats would focus on that. They would have like laser beams like focused on that. But here's the thing, since Nina Turner doesn't have any controversies attached to her, they're just manufacturing controversies. In fact, Jim Clyburn, Representative Jim Clyburn, apparently became incredibly upset over a town hall that featured the Young Turks. Cenk was there, Killer Mike, and Nina Turner. It was a town hall for Nina Turner, and Clyburn was gonna endorse her anyway. But Shontel Brown's team found this snippet from the town hall, sent it to Clyburn, and he got very upset about it, allegedly. So let's take a quick look at that.
What I realized as we were in South Carolina in 2016, and I saw the DNC try to sabotage their strongest candidate. What I realized when I saw people like Clyburn, which I don't have a problem with in South Carolina for the good work he's done, but I think it's incredibly stupid to not cut a deal before you get someone elected president, and the only thing you get is a federal holiday and nothing tangible out of it.
Talk about it.
And that criticism is with love, because I'm gonna still come through your state, and I don't want state troopers to stop me. But what I realized is you got folks taking the bag on both sides. And you have people in the Democratic and Republican parties that are far more loyal to the people and corporations and the corporations that sponsor their running than they are to the people who actually vote to get them there.
So Cenk, just one graphic before I go to you, because in response to that video, Representative Jim Clyburn said, and this is the last graphic, I personally got involved when I was invited by the Turner campaign. They talked about when I was invited by the Turner campaign, they talked about my stupidity for endorsing Joe Biden, and I just kind of decided if I'm going to be stupid, might as well be stupid.
Well, that's the one thing we agree on. Okay, so now let me break this down, last couple things down. First of all, on Clyburn. This is a joke. They are spending millions against Nina Turner. They were always going to spend millions against Nina Turner. Hillary Clinton had already endorsed Brown against Turner. Clyburn was going to endorse Brown against Turner. And a day before his endorsement, we do the town hall. Of course, Washington Post jumps all over it, and as do other media. They say, oh wow, that was an amazing town hall, standing room only. Nina Turner's incredibly popular in Cleveland. No, they just take that one part. That's the Oppo research given to them by the corporate Democrat, and they go, well, we work for you, so what would you like us to do for you? Oh, you'd like us to smear Nina Turner and Killer Mike and TYT and try to help Brown get elected. Of course, that's our job in the mainstream media, right? And so they then Clyburn goes, oh, well, and by the way, guys, I went through this process. Endorsements take weeks, at least. Sometimes they take months to put together, okay? So Clyburn says he didn't go through that process at all. He says, oh yeah, it's because my feelings were hurt on the last day and that's why I decided to do it. And you believe that? No, the entire establishment is scared to death of Nina Turner. NinaTurner.com/hello. Go, they're spending millions. She's getting at $27 at a time. NinaTurner.com/hello. So now, secondly, think about if Clyburn is correct. That's arguably worse because he's saying, oh, I don't care about policy. I didn't endorse based on policy. I didn't endorse based on anything to do with unity. Nina Turner was winning by 35 points at the time. So if you were gonna do Democratic unity, you'd rally around the leading Democratic candidate, right? He said, no, my ego was hurt. Now that's not me saying it. I don't even believe him, but that's Clyburn saying it.
It's amazing, actually.
Yeah, he says, my ego was hurt by a rapper, and Nina Turner, in half a sentence, seemed to kind of agree. So that's it. I'm gonna get all my lobbyist friends, all my corrupt lobbyist friends to spend millions of dollars against Nina Turner. That's how you make decisions? That's how Jim Clyburn makes decisions?
Yes.
That is unbelievable. And the correct headline for that story, if you were an objective reporter, would have been egomaniac politician starts a war within the Democratic Party because he was insulted by a rapper. Jesus Christ. And you saw the clip. Killer Mike didn't even insult him that bad. Let's break down that real quick. Number one, he said, I do it with love. Okay, number two, he said Clyburn's got upsides, right?
He told the truth. That's what gets
but I'm gonna get to that.
Yeah.
But the most important point is, he said, look, I wish Clyburn had gotten a better deal from Biden. He didn't say, oh, I'm mad at him for endorsing Biden. He said, I wish he got a better deal for endorsing Biden. So now Clyburn is saying, oh, you're saying I could have gotten a slightly better deal, which is, by the way, nearly indisputable. Well, then my ego has been injured by this fraction, right? And hence, corrupt lobbyist friends, go get Nina Turner, get out of here. Sorry, Anna, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I do think that his ego was bruised. You know who also wishes that Clyburn got a better deal from Biden? Jim Clyburn. He knows, I mean, he was complaining fairly recently about the fact that Biden isn't keeping up his part of the deal, right? He wants to pass the For the People Act, the Voting Rights Act that includes all of the protections for black voters, something that was reversed by the Supreme Court. And so, yeah, he's upset and salty with Biden. He just doesn't want Killer Mike or anyone else to bluntly state the truth, which is, listen, if you're gonna endorse someone, I mean, Clyburn is the primary figure who saved Biden when he was flailing in the Democratic primary, okay? So Clyburn should be upset. It's just a little sad that he's upset at Killer Mike and not more upset at Joe Biden for not keeping up his side of the deal.
Of course, because even in a best case scenario, Clyburn got suckered by Biden.
That's right.
Right, and so he feels silly. So he's taking out his anger, not against Biden, who could actually help pass For the People Act, who could make a difference in your life, and who could make a difference, gigantic difference for the Democratic Party, gigantic difference, most importantly for African Americans and their voting rights across the country. But he does not go after Biden. Oh, because beloved corrupt politicians support beloved corrupt politicians, and Joe, oh my God, I would never criticize a colleague. What do you mean? You just launched a howitzer against Nina Turner. She's a Democratic colleague. Oh yeah, but she's a progressive. We despise progressives. Why don't you just say it? Why don't you just say it? And by the way, reporters, why don't you report it? Why are there only like 2 or 3 reporters in the whole country, right? This is a battle between progressives and corporate Democrats, and the corporate Democrats are using infinite corruption and millions of dollars to go after Nina Turner. And Anna, you mentioned the media earlier. I'll say 2 things about that. Daily Beast wrote a hatchet piece, an absolute preposterous hatchet piece against Nina Turner. They're like, did you know that her former company gave her $1,000 or something like along those lines, right? Talking about $1,000 from her former company. The details of it are totally unimportant because it's like nothing, and at most it's a clerical error. The other side has millions. Daily Beast's like, I don't see it. Well, what do we have, reporters? No, we have propagandists who work for corporate Democrats. I'm not gonna tell you about the millions of dollars that Brown gets from ExxonMobil, from Comcast, from drug companies, from Democratic Majority for Israel, from Republican donors, from Trump donors. Daily Beast is not gonna touch that because Daily Beast doesn't do news, they do propaganda. Okay, and by the way, one of our viewers asked a great question. The Dragon who says, so we got her about Shontel Brown. Massive corruption scandal, might put her in jail. And look, if we had any kind of decency and any kind of actual rule of law in this country, if she broke that law, she would go to jail. But she's a corporate Democrat, so nobody's going to jail because they are the people in power and they're gonna protect each other. And we see it right here in this case. Anyway, they say, so we got her. I'm sure MSNBC and CNN are running with this story. Now guys, of course they're not, right? CNN and MSNBC are part of the corruption. Oh, Nina Turner's bad. Let's bring on Claire McCaskill and have her tell us how to win elections. She lost her election. But yes, I know, but she's a corporate stooge. And that's what MSNBC is, a bunch of corporate stooges. So if ever they're gonna do a story on this, it is to attack the progressive, as always with MSNBC and CNN. So there's no end to the corruption, and the mainstream media is a gigantic part of it. There are real facts in the world. You could look up who gave money to who. Okay, but now, and the Intercept does, and that's why they drive, and we drive mainstream media crazy, and the Intercept drives mainstream media crazy. Why? Because we state facts, and they're like, oh, damn it, they're doing reporting. Why won't they do the propaganda that Clyburn and Biden and Pelosi and Schumer want? This is distressing. NinaTurner.com/hello.
All right, so let's do a Nina Turner story that might lighten the mood a little bit for you. I don't know.
Okay, we'll see.
Dr. Cornel West was someone I was lucky enough to interview recently. The full interview will be available on Jacobin's YouTube channel this weekend, Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. And he was talking about Nina Turner. We wanted to ask about why it is he has chosen to not only endorse Nina Turner for Ohio's 11th district, she's running for Congress there. We wanted to know what it is about her that inspires him to go out and do the canvassing and do the work. And so here's his answer.
We go to Cleveland. We go to support Nina Turner. Why? Because she is a wave in a grand ocean of a Black progressive tradition that goes hand in hand with the US progressive tradition and the international progressive tradition. And she is this crucial person at this moment is trying to hold up a bloodstained banner of truth-telling and justice-seeking that have to do with moral, spiritual, political standards of excellence. And that excellence is manifest in how deep is your love for everyday people? Do you look at the world through the lens of poor and working people? I don't care what color they are. I was just blessed to write the 60th anniversary for Frantz Fanon's Regiment of the Earth. I got a chance to read it twice. And it'll be out in a couple of months. And what is one of the fundamental points he makes there? The massive betrayal and pervasive neglect of poor and working people, of national bourgeoisies in every corner of the world, including the United States, including Black America. Nina Turner, I was gonna say Nina Simone, because they really go hand in hand in terms of their spirit, their vision, their courage, their style, their willingness to tell the truth, right? Is concerned about that kind of betrayal and neglect of poor and working people on behalf of politicians, including Black politicians, including Black neoliberal politicians, like the one she's running against. That's why I go down to see Nina Turner in the spirit of Nina Simone.
No, I mean, that interview was fire. So if you want to check it out, I highly recommend you check it out. It airs on Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. The show is called Weekends. I host it with Nando Vila, and you can find it at youtube.com/JacobinMag. That's youtube.com/JacobinMag. We interviewed him for nearly an hour, so definitely check that out. Cenk.
Okay, so now he's talking about neoliberals, and the neoliberals work with Republicans. That's corporate Democrats, corporate Republicans, birds of a feather. Can I prove it? Yes, I can prove it in this race. So Trump donors have started to come in for Nina Turner, against Nina Turner for Shontel Brown. Now remember, Shontel Brown's a tiny politician. She's the head of the Democratic Party in one county in Ohio. So Nina Turner used to be a state senator in Ohio and was the chair of a presidential campaign for Bernie Sanders, is a massive politician and a political figure in America. So all of these neoliberals coming in for this person that no one knew before this race. So they're not coming in for her. They're coming in against Nina Turner, okay? And guess who else is? Republicans and Trump donors. So Robert Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots, and one of the biggest Trump donors, gave $1 million to Trump's inauguration. Gave $5,800 maxed out to Shontel Brown, okay? And then his family gave another $20,000. And then they gave more to the Democratic Majority for Israel. They have got to beat Nina Turner. The Republicans have decided, Trump donors have decided, oh my God, here's a Democrat who might actually fight us. Neoliberals, corporate Democrats, they're our buddies, they're our pets. Nice boy, nice boy, nice boy. Do as you're told. And they do exactly as they're told. Nina Turner is not going to do as she is told. So now Kraft is not the only Trump donor. Oh, there's about a dozen of them that at least that have been reported. So not only that, the head of the Cuyahoga County Republican Party has come in for Shontel Brown, who's the head of the Cuyahoga Democratic Party. That's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that. Where the Republicans and Democrats go. Remember, guys, corruption
is something we want to protect.
Yeah, we stick together.
Yeah.
Corrupt people stick together. That head of the Republican Party once criticized somebody for outing corruption and called him a snitch. Okay.
What are they, gangsters or something?
Of course they are. Of course they are. So now he gave $1,000 to his counterpart, to the person he's supposed to be opposed to. But they're not opposed. Shontel Brown's not opposed to the Republican Party. She works with the Republican Party. We covered a so-called speech of hers last week, right? With the fake applause from the DJ and the et cetera. And in that speech, she was talking about, I, unlike Nina Turner, am bipartisan. I work with Republicans all the time. I know. And they know, that's why they're funding your campaign. So other Republicans that have given to Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, the worst Republicans, they have also given to Shontel Brown. So donors are like, oh, I like Mitch McConnell and I like Shontel Brown. And one person, none of the donors, not the Republican donors, not the corrupt Democratic donors, like is Nina Turner. Guys, I've never seen anything like this, and I told you it was gonna happen. We told you from day one in this race that it was going to be unprecedented, because Nina Turner is a mortal threat to corruption. So they're all coming. So it's like they put out an APB bulletin. They said, no, this is the one person in America we must stop. And so ninaturner.com/hello. It's just you guys versus all of them. ninaturner.com/hello. You've raised a lot of money for her, okay? Of course, not nearly the money that these guys have done, okay? They've got millions. But that money's making a giant difference. She's still leading in the race, but she used to have a 35-point lead. Now it is closed considerably, and there's only a couple of days left. Now, by the way, we're gonna cover that race. So this Saturday, tune in right here to TYT. I'm gonna personally be hosting from here in LA an event they're doing in Cleveland. By the way, Cornel West is gonna be there, and so is Bernie Sanders, and so is Cori Bush and Keith Ellison. So that's a Get Out the Vote rally, July 31st. That's in Cleveland. It's at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. I'm just hosting it here from LA, but I don't have anything to do with the rally other than covering it for me as media. The rally is for Nina Turner and other politicians that are backing her and progressives that are backing her. By the way, tons of politicians in Cleveland not only endorsed Nina Turner from the beginning, but some of them have now flipped that had gone to Shontel Brown because she's the head of the Democratic Party in that county, and they're like, no, this is beyond the pale. No, they've never seen anything like it. They're like, no, we're going to Nina Turner, because these are outsiders. And these people are clearly up to no good. And my God, they're so scared of Nina Turner. She might actually do something for us, right? And on the night of the election, that's just next Tuesday, that's August 3rd, we'll also cover it right here on the Young Turks. My God, if she loses, it's gonna be the biggest heartbreak you've ever seen in your life. But if she wins, they made a mistake. If they went for her and they missed, well, Nina Turner's gonna go to Washington and she ain't gonna miss.
All right, well, one person who misses consistently is Kyrsten Sinema. So when we come back, we'll talk about how she is planning on single-handedly defeating the infrastructure bill, the robust $3.5 trillion bill, and that could mean an end to even the bipartisan infrastructure bill. So we'll give you the details on that story and more when we come back.
Okay, by the way, you could also volunteer for Nina Turner at ninaturner.com. So, and by God, if you live in the 11th District of Ohio, Akron, Cleveland, and surrounding areas, make sure you vote. You can vote right now. Voting has already begun. It's not a red, well, it's partly a red state. Anyways, Eclectic Miscellanea writes in, an establishment candidate is corrupt. I am shocked. Hashtag vote Nina. Hapless Harry says, I would love to be a fly in the room when Clyburn welcomes Miss Nina to Congress. Kind of think hello somebody just won't work. We might have flies in that room. So anyways, we'll see how that turns out. All right, I'll leave it at that. Next TYT reporter says, it's my birthday, can I get a shout out? I'm turning 34. Well, happy birthday, next TYT reporter.
Happy birthday. 34 is a good age.
Oh, it's a great age.
So is 35.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Great age.
It's the best age.
The best age.
People are saying that 34, 35 is the best.
Lisa Vibe says, Killer Mike was as nice as he could possibly be while reprimanding Clyburn. And Clyburn was still a crybaby. It's obviously a lie to cover his corporate endorsement against Nina Turner. By the way, I guarantee you that if the mainstream media covers this going forward, all they'll do is say any criticism of Clyburn, they'll pretend has to do with race. Wait a minute, both candidates in the race are black women. What does race have?
Yeah, we actually.
But I guarantee it, I'll predict it ahead of time, okay?
Cornel West actually got into that in the full interview that'll air on Jacobin's YouTube channel over the weekend. And I think, man, I remember Cornel West being strong during the Obama years, right? He was one of the few who was willing to speak out against him when he went back on his promises. He's still as strong today. It's really impressive.
Yep, so new member on YouTube. We could hit that join button below on YouTube, Ganja Cat 420, we appreciate it. And by the way, you could upgrade through that too. R Stone on YouTube Super Chat says, sounds like a whole lot of hurt dogs hollering in the DNC. Let's go Nina Turner. Pedro, and by the way, and with corporate media, it's always guilt by association. Did you know that Cenk Uygur said this and then Killer Mike said that and then Cornel West said that and then that connects to Nina Turner because she was in the room and so that she's racist against herself. Watch for it. There's only a couple of days left. They gotta hurry. Okay, Pedro Lina, the Topical Dragon says, hello from Brazil. I would just like to recommend Dr. West's class about W.B. Du Bois. It's on Dartmouth's page on YouTube, Fight on TYT. That's great, I love it. Daisy Dragon gave 1,000 bits on Twitch, we love you for it. And the Chicken Fried Dragon said, Anna is my Salt Bae. Okay, more from Twitch later. Love you guys, we'll be back. back on TYT. Cenk and Anna with you guys. Casper, take it away.
Conservative Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema has poured cold water on the Democrats' reconciliation infrastructure bill, the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill that includes everything that is supposed to be the Democrats' agenda or on the Democrats' agenda. Funding for childcare, funding for elder care, the human infrastructure, the climate action, all of the goodies she is against. She's saying that it costs too much money. I mean, I'm sure it has nothing to do with her corporate donors who hate the robust reconciliation version of the infrastructure bill. She says the following: while I support beginning this process, she says, I do not support a bill that costs $3.5 trillion. And in the coming months, I will work in good faith to develop this legislation with my colleagues and the administration. Now, we should also be aware of the fact that Senator Sinema is the same Democratic senator who decided to tap Mitch McConnell's shoulder, a Republican, the former Senate Majority Leader, before she voted down, gave a thumbs down to a $15 an hour minimum wage. Well, turns out that she certainly is seeking validation from Mitch McConnell, and Mitch McConnell has responded to her recent statement regarding the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill, saying, I was certainly pleased, she's very courageous. Oh, so I'm sure Sinema is very happy that Mitch McConnell is patting her head and telling her she's being a good girl doing the bidding of corporate donors and the Republican Party. Now, the good news is though, Cenk, progressives are planning to fight back. I'll give you the details on that, but first, some thoughts on Sinema.
Yeah, so guys, the most important thing here is that these two bills, the so-called bipartisan bill that spends about $500 billion in new money, versus the reconciliation bill, the Democratic bill that spends $3.5 trillion. That's the real bill, right? This has always been a trap. So the Republicans and corporate Democrats had always planned to pass only the bipartisan tiny bill. And in fact, they loaded it up with corporate giveaways, including the fossil fuel industry, right? So it's an ambush. And so the trick is, progressives and electorate, which is we know is progressive, even though the media and we pretend they're not. We are going to do these wonderful things that you guys love, and it will bring you many jobs, and it will help the environment, etc. Wink. And then, no, they're gonna pull the football like they do every time. So they're gonna pass the bipartisan bill and then go, we tried so hard for the reconciliation bill, the one that the Democrats and progressives wanted. But golly gee, we just couldn't do it. Kyrsten Sinema wouldn't vote for it. By the way, rotating villains. If it's not Kyrsten Sinema, it'd be Joe Manchin. If it's not Joe Manchin, it'll be Chris Coons. It doesn't matter because they never meant it. They never planned to pass it.
I mean, we saw it from a mile away. And you know what? We never give ourselves credit. I'm gonna give us credit, right? The second they decided to split the infrastructure bill into two bills, right? No, we'll go ahead and include everything that Republicans want and corporate Democrats want in the bipartisan bill. And then afterwards, we promise, we swear through reconciliation, we're gonna pass the $3.5 trillion bill. No, they were never planning on doing that. I think that there are some Democratic senators who, might have been suspicious, but genuinely thought, no, we'll fight and we'll get the actual more robust bill passed. But you're right, you have Manchin, you have Sinema, you have Coons, you have Warner. I mean, the rotating villains continue. And we were just talking about Joe Manchin standing in the way of the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill just yesterday. And today it's Sinema. Who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow, but it's becoming increasingly unlikely that we're gonna get a good infrastructure deal based on the nonsense that's going on with these corrupt corporate Democrats.
Look, we have a petition. And so I get it that since there's two bills, it sounds a little confusing, but it isn't. If they vote for the bipartisan bill first, we're screwed because they're never gonna pass the larger bill, okay? I guarantee you could write it down in stone. I mean, whatever bet I could make, I would make on it. I've seen that lie 1,000 times in covering politics for the last quarter of a century, right? So progressives in the House, and we're asking all Democrats in the House, do not vote on the bipartisan bill before you vote on the actual reconciliation bill.
Yep.
So you've got to vote on the reconciliation bill, the real bill, the Democratic bill, the $3.5 trillion bill first. Otherwise, it's an ambush. There's no question about it, right? So we're asking you to participate in that petition. Go to tyt.com/petitions. We'll have the link down below if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And so you can read the whole explanation of it on tyt.com/petition/infrastructure vote, okay? So here the order of the voting makes the biggest difference.
Yes.
If they pass the terrible one first, we're done. They've got to pass the good one first. Now we have great news for you guys. This time, progressives are fighting back. So Anna, tell us about that.
So usually when it appears like they might fight back, you'll get a random tweet here or there where they're like hinting that they're thinking about fighting back. But in this case, there's a united front, which I think is important. And remember, the head of the House Progressive Caucus is Pramila Jayapal, and she released a statement. Pramila Jayapal said that votes of caucus members are not guaranteed on any bipartisan package until we examine the details and until the reconciliation bill is agreed to and passed with our priorities sufficiently funded. Following that statement, you have several Democratic lawmakers coming out and agreeing with it. Mondaire Jones is an example. Without a reconciliation package that meets this moment, I'm a no on this bipartisan deal. You have Rashida Tlaib, who called Sinema out by name, and I love to see it. She says Sinema seems not to care that her own state is flooding, the West is burning, and infrastructure around the country is crumbling. Sinema is more interested in gaining GOP friends and blocking much needed resources than fighting for her residents' future. I love that. And she also said that it's time for the White House to play hardball. We didn't elect Sinema as president, and we won't let her obstruction put a Republican in the Oval Office in 2024. It's a reconciliation bill or GOP controlling every level of government again, period. And I think that she's right on that. I'm gonna keep going, just two more tweets. We have Jamal Bowman, who says, we were sent to Congress to transform lives. If the Senate fails to support a reconciliation package that meets the moment on climate and our care economy, I can't see myself supporting their goal of passing a bipartisan package for infrastructure. And final one comes from AOC, who says, good luck tanking your own party's investment on childcare, climate action, and infrastructure while presuming you'll survive a 3-vote House margin, especially after choosing to exclude members of color from negotiations and calling that a bipartisan accomplishment. And remember, Kyrsten Sinema led the effort along with Republican Senator Rob Portman on the bipartisan infrastructure deal. So she wants to make sure that that passes. And I love that these lawmakers, progressive lawmakers, are calling her out and saying, no, we're not gonna let you succeed in this bipartisan deal until we get what we want in the reconciliation deal.
So I want to give particular credit to a couple people here for specific reasons. So AOC said that about Sinema's actions. So she, along with Tlaib, deserves credit for calling out a Democratic colleague. You might think that that's normal. Of course, they're going to vote against your priority and might kill any action on climate change. Why wouldn't they call them out? But in Washington, if you don't know, if you're new to politics, in Washington, a Democrat calling out another Democrat is the biggest crime. It's like insulting a police officer. It's not in any rule book, but if you do it, it's a third rail, and everybody collapses in on you. The corporate Democrats, Democratic leadership, corporate media, they all voraciously attack you, right? So this is the first time that I've seen it happening in real movement, enough numbers to make a difference on the vote in the House. So I don't know Mondaire Jones at all. We've helped a lot of progressives win, but honestly, we haven't had any contact with Mondaire Jones. So I'm gonna tell you, in the most unbiased way you can imagine, Mondaire had the best tweet, okay? Because his says, no, I'm voting no on the bill.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that matters. We can huff and we can puff, but that matters too, don't get me wrong. Calling out other Democrats matters in terms of putting the spotlight on the issue and creating pressure, right? But at the end of the day, you either vote yes or you vote no. So he's clearly on the record saying, no, I'm gonna vote no on your bill unless we vote on our bill first. That's exactly what we're asking of politicians. By the way, send this petition to those politicians, not just to the progressives, but yes, also to them, but to the corporate Democrats. It says no House Democrat should vote for the bipartisan bill before the reconciliation bill. So credit to Mondaire Jones for doing the right thing and in the right way, okay? And guys, as AOC pointed out, you really don't need a lot of votes in the House at all. And I wanna give you one more piece of context here. Look, when progressives didn't do what we were hoping for in the $15 minimum wage fight, when it was a winnable fight, it wasn't a fantasy, it wasn't like weird timed thing for theatrics, right? It was real. We could have won on $15 minimum wage. And they didn't fight on that, okay? And I called them out. And I burned a lot of bridges calling them out, okay? On this one, they are doing the right thing. So when they're not doing the right thing, it is right to criticize. When they are doing the right thing, it's right to support. See, that is called using your mind and your human judgment to be able to discern between different situations. And in this situation, they're saying all the right things and they're saying that they're going to act on that. So great, and go get their back, but send them the petition anyway. We want them on the record. If they say, yes, I'm signing the petition as a congressperson, trust me, that'll make gigantic news. That'll affect the negotiations, and most importantly, it'll affect what passes. Because either that infrastructure bill with the climate change and the jobs passes or it doesn't, and that's the most important thing of all.
When we come back from the break, just yesterday, one of our viewers wanted us to cover the Mylan Laboratories story out of West Virginia. This is a story involving corruption. Joe Manchin's daughter. You do not want to miss the details because this not only shows the corruption in government, but even shows how Americans could be harmed by our generic drug supply chain being shifted over, moved over to another country in order for these companies to take advantage of cheap labor. It's just a disgusting, awful story, but you need to know the details. So come right back and I'll tell you what those details are.
All right, keep it going on the signing the petitions. TYT.com/petitions is so easy, takes you 5 seconds. I'm going to our members. Derek writes in, I'm taking calls for Nina while watching TYT. It isn't hard. So that's a person that's volunteering for Nina Turner. I love to see it, ninaturner.com. You can go volunteer, you can donate. It still makes a big difference. There's only a couple of days left. It's the most important race. I don't know if you guys remember, when it first started and nobody was paying attention to it, I told you it might be even more important than Bernie Sanders' presidential race, because Nina Turner is someone who's willing to call out other Democrats, who's willing to hold a line. And I'm not sure Bernie was gonna do that even if he was president. So you need to do that in order to pass the bills that are progressive. That's why it's so important. Derek, thank you for doing that. Melly357 just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube. Thank you, we appreciate it. Kelly O'Hara writes in, let's be honest here, cinema is just Senate Karen. Dr. Richie, where are you at? Hashtag indisputable, hashtag I wish a Karen would. That is actually really funny. So Kelly, thank you for writing in. Ganja Cat 420, who just joined a little while ago, says, I'm so thankful to have found an informative news channel that is honest and genuine. Love you all and keep influencing the positive change we need. Just updated my debit card. Okay, well, thank you, we appreciate it. But guys, it's not just us doing it. Every time we go towards change, you do it too. Look, I was walking in LA somewhere and I saw a giant poster for AOC in somebody's window. And I thought, We did that. It wasn't just us, of course, but we were a decent chunk of it. I was reading in the Nina Turner stories today about how the Just Democrats are coming to rally for Nina Turner. By the way, AOC went and canvassed with her a couple of days ago, okay? And I thought, I named Justice Democrats. Isn't that amazing? It's in every story now. And you guys, through your donations and your volunteers, and I remember seeing you at Jamal Bowman's rally in New York. And we had like 100 volunteers or something along those lines sign up for him at the very beginning of his campaign. He was like, whoa, what is this, right? You guys did that. That's how we create change. That's why our change campaign is called tyt.com/change, because you make that possible. I love you for it, you're American heroes for it. All right, speaking of American heroes, John Iadarola, not him, but the people that are making him do it, promised that he was gonna dye his hair purple if we gifted 1,000 subs on Twitch today. And he thought, well, that's not really gonna happen, that's not possible. Wrong, there's already 710 gifted subs today.
Oh my God.
Okay, it's almost there. Oh, I gotta tell you more about it after the break, I'll tell you. Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Another huge part of TYT, of course, is Johnny Pie, John Iadarola, Daddy Dragon. And he flippantly said today, apparently, that if you gifted 1,000 subs on Twitch, that he would dye his hair purple. He didn't think it was possible. Wrong, anything is possible with the TYT community. It's already up to 710 gifted subs on Twitch. And J-Dub did 9 months. Oh, these are all prime subs. J-Dub, Antagonistic, Justin Sane, Jason Young, Super Wiggly. Tell Me What to Put gave 1,234 bits. Iron Man gave 2,122 bits. But the gifted subs, AJ Duenas gifted 6 subs. And so if you get to 1,000, is he really gonna do it? We were just debating here. Is he really gonna do it? I don't know.
I feel like John, I think your interpretation is correct. He did not expect us to hit that goal. So that's why he put it out there. But he's also a man of his word. John's a very honest person. So I believe in him. I really do think he will, in the very least, like a temporary hair dye, like semi-permanent, And I would love to see it. I think John would look great with purple hair.
Zach Harov Lopatev just gifted 5 subs.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Yes, okay.
All right, twitch.tv/TYT. Great shows, including Anna on Deep Dive tonight with Jordan Uhl.
Yes, I'm actually super excited about it. Jordan Uhl's gonna ask me all sorts of like super controversial questions. So definitely check it out, Deep Dive with Jordan Uhl. I'm really excited, so looking forward to it.
That's right after our bonus episode today, so it's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
All right,
so a critical plant that manufactures pharmaceutical drugs, generic pharmaceutical drugs, is shipping jobs and manufacturing over to another country. And this is in West Virginia. Joe Manchin should care quite a bit about it because he purports to really care about jobs in West Virginia, especially union jobs in West Virginia. But it turns out that when union leaders tried to get a meeting with him to kind of do something to stop this from happening, Manchin wasn't so interested. I'll get to his statement in just a second, but first, let's talk about this laboratory and why it's so important. It's Mylan Laboratories. It has made 61 drug products, including a substantial portion of the world's supply of a critical thyroid medicine. It's 1,431 highly trained workers, analytical chemists, industrial engineers, and senior janitors among them are represented by the Steelworkers Union. But unfortunately, all are slated to be laid off by month's end. So to give you an idea of how things have already been scaled back at this laboratory, at its height back in 2016, the Morgantown manufacturing site employed more than 3,700 full-time employees and made more than 1,400 drug products, a scale that dwarfs most American drug manufacturing sites, according to FDA records. Now, this is actually an incredibly important plant or laboratory because they specifically focus on generic drugs, which tend to be far more affordable than the name brand pharmaceutical drugs. And as we all know, there's a huge problem with our incredibly fragile supply chain. We experienced it during COVID, where a lot of the things that we needed were being manufactured in other countries, and we were having a tough time getting the supplies, right? Whether it was masks or other protective gear for healthcare workers, toilet paper is another example. The idea of manufacturing these critical generic drugs in other countries should make you uneasy, in addition to the fact that we're losing more jobs, unionized jobs, to another country where these executives are looking to exploit cheap labor. Now, when officials from the United Steelworkers Local 8957 managed to get in touch with Manchin, he was incredibly dismissive. So apparently he told them in a quick 2-minute video call, he was on the Senate floor. He said, "Sorry about your luck. It sounds like they've reached a corporate decision. There's very little I can do." So the president of the local Steelworkers Union said the following: "We can't reach him. He won't respond. His aides won't respond." And they have good reason to believe that the reason he won't respond is because of some pretty significant conflicts of interest. Union officials believe that Manchin's silence can be traced to the fact that his daughter, Heather Bursch, the former CEO of Mylan, walked away with a $30.8 million golden parachute from the Mylan Upjohn merger. So the decision was made after this merger took place. And as you can see, Manchin's daughter took advantage of a giant $30.8 million golden parachute when this merger happened and she was no longer the CEO of the company. The resulting entity, which so swiftly targeted the Morgantown plant for closure, is led by Bursch's former Mylan colleagues who were also exorbitantly compensated in the merger. So look, there's so many, Cenk, there's so many conflicts of interest with Manchin. I mean, we just did a story yesterday about how he makes $500,000 a year off of his investments in dirty coal in the state of West Virginia. He makes more than double his salary in the Senate by being invested in dirty coal operations in the state of West Virginia. So many conflicts of interest. And in this case, who cares about our fragile supply chains? Who cares about unionized jobs? His daughter's making money. His daughter's got these friendly ties and financial ties to this company, which just did this awful merger. And so he's gonna look out for himself. He's gonna look out for his family's financial interests, and he's gonna move on with his life.
Okay, so there's so many villains in the story, but it's so emblematic of so many different things that we tell you about on the show all the time. So first of all, unions often back corporate Democrats like Joe Manchin. How's that working out for you?
Don't do it.
Okay, so if you'd back the progressive in that race, maybe you would have kept those jobs in West Virginia. Oops, okay, but they're the least of the problems here. Overall, the Steelworkers Union, they're employing chemists and engineers, not employing them, but having them inside their union and protecting them. That was great, and we wish they had more union workers there, and they needed the protection there from a giant company who screwed them, okay? So now we move to the second issue. Joe Biden, where is he? Nowhere. Why? Oh, I need Manchin for votes, so I'm not gonna criticize him. Besides which, corporate Democrats are gonna corporate Democrat, right? So peas in a pod. So Biden and Manchin agree on almost everything. So nobody's saying anything about all those jobs that are getting outsourced, including the Biden administration. Now, let me go to a hero before I come back to the villains. So the guy who originally started Mylan Laboratories is Mike Puskar, and he turns out to be an awesome guy. And I love this part of the story because it's something I've told you guys 100 times, and I didn't know Mike's story, okay? I said, look, sometimes founders of private companies can actually do the right thing. Public corporations, they have to maximize profit by law, they don't have a choice, right? And that's why you have that greed machine that's called the stock market, right? But in this case, he started Mylan Laboratories in the 1960s, and he always looked out for his employees. He would give all of them turkeys on Thanksgiving. He'd give them all Christmas bonuses. And he would give them free healthcare, no contributions, no nothing, okay? And especially at a time when nobody was doing it. When he finally passed away, at that point, the bad guys had taken over his company. So he said, make sure that they could see my casket for 12 hours because I don't want the company screwing over the workers and doing 8-hour shift at that time because he knew already the employees loved him, the company hated him. And after he got pushed out, basically, right? And so, you know what happened? There was a line that went around a city block to see his funeral. It was all the workers of the company, okay? And they loved him. So that's actually was still possible, is still possible in America. But unfortunately, the rest of the story shows you what normally happens. So he brings in Robert J. Curry to run the company. That was the principal mistake he realized later because he was sick. He had to hand off the company. But before he died, he realized, oh no, I made a terrible mistake. Curry's going in the wrong direction. Curry then brings in Heather Bresch, who is Manchin's daughter. Oh, and the things go terrible. Okay, so the turkeys are gone, the Christmas bonuses are gone.
The first thing they want to do is cut costs and skirt federal regulations, FDA regulations.
Yeah, oh, by the way, so originally Mylan Laboratories, when it was run by the good guy, encouraged regulations and was super proud of it. And people would come in, the FDA would come in and use them as an example of what to do right. And by the way, through all that time, they made a lot of money. So it's not like they didn't make money. It's not like they were gonna go under. They were a profitable company, but he could still treat everybody with respect and he could still make safe products that everybody was proud of, right? So now when Bresch comes in, Manchin's daughter, oh, everything goes to hell. You guys remember when she increased the price of EpiPen by 400%?
I sure do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was a huge story. So, oh, there's nothing I could do. Of course there's something you could do. You don't have to increase it by 400%. That endangers people's lives.
It's interesting. It seems like there's quite a bit he can do when it comes to defeating progressive agenda items in the infrastructure bill or the For the People Act or any type of agenda that Democrats tend to care about. But when it comes to these types of issues, oh, there's nothing he can do. There's nothing, he has no power, really, as a US senator.
Look at that, Joe Manchin says, oh, the reason I do what I do is because I got to protect the union jobs in the coal mines, right?
He wants to protect his
you're
profits.
profiting off the coal mines. How about protecting the union jobs at Mylan Laboratories? Oh, don't care because my daughter made $30 million. Now, I gotta explain that part to you guys. So when she did the EpiPen thing and they took away the Christmas bonuses, et cetera, she's making millions of dollars as an executive, right? And then they would turn around and tell the employees, oh, we don't have any money. But we see your public filings. We see how much profit you make. That's just a flat out lie, right? Okay, so now, if you're wondering about the golden parachute, why does anybody ever pay someone on their way out? There might be legitimate reasons in some cases, but in cases like when Dick Cheney left Halliburton to go become vice president, they gave him a giant, I think it was around $34 million. I'm saying that off the top of my head, you can look it up. They gave him a giant, what's called a golden parachute. Why? Because he's gonna be the vice president and he's gonna start a war where Halliburton's gonna make billions. So that's a nice going away present, right? In Bresch's case and Curry's case, the reason why they give him such huge packages is, remember, we're gonna outsource everybody's jobs. Everybody knows that. Nobody, like it's not like Bresch was caught off guard by it. No, that was the whole point of the merger, okay? And so be a good boy and good girl, okay? And screw over all of your workers, give us the company, we're gonna cut costs, but you're gonna get paid big time. And make sure your daddy doesn't do anything about it. Make sure that dog is muzzled, okay? And they know, and it's a smart move, if Manchin's muzzled, Biden's muzzled. So you pay $30 million to Manchin's daughter and you get everything you want. And that's exactly what happened.
Man, $30.8 million was Bresch's golden parachute. $30.8 million is what the reward she received after this merger happened. And I want to just quickly, before we go, again, emphasize the importance of manufacturing life-saving generic drugs in the United States, right? We again experienced the fragility of our supply chains during the coronavirus pandemic. And so here's what we do know. So First, let me just read this quote that I thought was fantastic from Barbara Evans Fleischauer, who is a Democratic member of the West Virginia House of Delegates. She says, quote, "Did 600,000 people die in vain without us learning we couldn't get hold of sanitizer and toilet paper? Aren't medical drugs important? Wouldn't we want them to be manufactured in our country?" You would think so, but when you live under a system that puts profits over people, we shouldn't be surprised that these decisions are made. And also, 63% of all FDA registered facilities manufacture finished doses of generic drugs, but here's the problem. 87% of those making their active ingredients are located outside of the United States. So we're already in a pretty dire situation when it comes to manufacturing generic drugs, because a lot of the ingredients necessary for those generic drugs are manufactured in other countries. This move is making the situation even worse.
And next time you hear Manchin tell you, "Oh, I'm doing it because I want to protect jobs." For example, he voted against increasing the minimum wage. His excuse was, "Oh, I want to protect jobs."
He's full of it. We all know he's a liar.
No, the only people who pretend not to know, and maybe they don't, or maybe they're really news actors, as I tell you, and they don't have two brain cells in their heads. But mainstream media, oh no, Joe Manchin is from conservative state and is doing this to protect West Virginia. Well, where's he at? No, Joe Manchin's a liar. When his family is getting tens of millions of dollars, all of a sudden he doesn't give a damn about your job. By the way, he never cared about your job. It was always about his profits, his campaign contributions, his corporate lobbyists, and his family. So they get rich, and this is why mainstream media lost credibility with the right wing and everyone else. Because they keep telling you, no, Joe Manchin is a very honest person who's doing things out of principle. No, he's a corrupt crook. That's the reality. We just proved it to you.
When we come back for the second hour, Republican Representative Mo Brooks, who's facing a lawsuit by Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell, kind of told on himself about the January 6 riots. And Cenk, go ahead.
We got so many great stories, but I can update you on one other thing. Johnny Pie's purple hair. Smatty Dragon gifted 10 subs, True Dwabi 5 subs, Spanky 5 subs, Daisy Dragon 5 subs, Progressive Squirrel 5 subs, Senate Cherry Bowfight 10 subs, Little Mac McGee 30 subs, Rodney 10 subs, Jorma Che 5 subs, Drink That OJ 5 subs, Darius 10 subs, Matthias Giovanni 10 subs. I can't wait to see John with purple hair. Okay, keep it going at twitch.tv/TYT. Love you guys, we'll be back.
I'm Nina Turner, and we are on the road to revolution, baby.
Hello, somebody. And I know sometimes people talk about the angry black woman, but I'm gonna tell you something. If you ain't mad as a mofo about what's going on here, something is wrong with you.
You know, people ask me all the time, what are the lessons from 2020? Is that progressives have to get more organized and we got to come together. We have to be as agile as neoliberals. The progressive movement has to understand that it's not just enough for us to have the right ideas. We are right on most of the ideas. We're not perfect, but we're 99% right because it is a humanitarian agenda, but we must get the power. We have to come together in a more unified way so that we utilize our power strategically to topple neoliberalism, and it's gonna happen.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. #BezosBucks.
Hey everyone, Mateo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
TYT, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, Shannon Dawn, Bonnie Bailey, and Janie Peterson. They just joined by hitting that join button below on YouTube. YouTube versus Twitch. I don't know who's signing up more. Loser blogger Trump wrote in on TYT.com, John is starting to panic. And you are right, because back on Twitch, if we get 1,000 gifted subs, John's gonna dye his hair purple. That's what he said.
I can't believe he said he's gonna do that.
It's up to 875. Okay, this close. All right, by the way, here's new ones. Little Mac McChee gave another 14 subs. Frog in the Pot, 5 subs. DJ Michael Smart, 5 subs. Zero gave 2 subs, and so many of you gave 1 sub. Love you guys. I can't wait for it. Okay.
I can't wait to do the next story. You ready?
Yeah, boom, there we go.
Let's do it. All right, so Representative Mo Brooks gave a pretty provocative speech during the Trump rally that preceded the Capitol Hill riots on January 6th. Now, he's facing a lawsuit by Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell for his provocations. And he tried to skirt that lawsuit. He didn't want to get served, but luckily he eventually did. And that lawsuit will move forward. Now, what's interesting is during a conversation with a Slate reporter, Mo Brooks apparently outed himself for knowing that there was some likelihood there would be violence that day. So let me give you those details. As Jim Newell over at Slate reports, because of a tip he'd received about potential violence, he'd been wearing body armor at the very same ellipse speech in which he encouraged rally attendees to, quote, start taking down names and kicking ass. In fact, here's his exact quote. Mo Brooks said, I was warned on Monday that there might be risks associated with the next few days. And as a consequence of those warnings, I did not go to my condo. Instead, I slept on the floor of my office. And when I gave my speech at the Ellipse, I was wearing body armor. That's why I was wearing that nice little windbreaker to cover up the body armor. And what's fascinating is he knew that there was a potential for violence. He knew that there could be some danger. And while he was wearing that body armor, he gave this speech.
I'm Congressman Mo Brooks from Alabama's 5th Congressional District, And I've got a message that I need you to take to your heart and take back home. And along the way, stop at the Capitol. The 2020 election is behind us. Today is a time of choosing, and tomorrow is a time for fighting. Today is also a day of revelation and separation. Today, the curtain will be pulled back, and American patriots will learn by their votes which Republican senators and congressmen have the courage to fight for America. Now, our ancestors sacrificed their blood, their sweat, their tears, their fortunes, and sometimes their lives to give us, their descendants, an America that is the greatest nation in world history. So I have a question for you. Are you willing to do the same? My answer is yes. Louder. Are you willing to do what it takes to fight for America?
That windbreaker is neither little nor nice. I just wanted to, lies all around. But he was wearing body armor during that speech because he knew there was a threat of violence, but that didn't stop him from giving that speech.
Look, if you took the most charitable version, which he will later lie about and pretend he meant, and say he was worried about left-wing violence, even though there was no left-wingers there, right? So even if you took that version, would you rile up the crowd to say, are you willing to give up your life in this fight today? No, because then you'd be worried about, oh my God, we're gonna start violence with the non-existent left wing there and the right wing, right? Yeah. Oh my God, I'm concerned about this. But by the way, he didn't talk about the left wing. He said, go to the Capitol.
Right.
Right? So that speech was way worse than Donald Trump's speech on that day. Donald's speech made a couple of references to kicking ass or whatever, right? And look, there's a little bit of political hyperbole in some of these speeches, and I would normally say, oh, come on, saying take names and kick ass, who cares, right? But within the context of him wearing body armor and saying, go down the Capitol. And then he said about how the founding fathers gave up their lives. And are you willing to do the same? And it turns out somebody in the crowd was. Her name was Ashley Babbitt. And so, he egged him on, and he knew the dangers. That's why he protected himself. And just like Donald Trump, who said, I'm gonna walk down to the Capitol with you. And then went home to the White House in his comfy little bunker and watched from the bunker, Trump did. Mo Brooks didn't go down to the Capitol either, right? He walked away and he led them walk in. Now over 500 of them have been arrested and are facing very serious charges, maybe another 100, let alone the people who died. And was Mo Brooks part of the actual fighting? Of course not. He was comfy in his body armor, right? And very, very safe. That's how lying politicians are.
That's right, and I mean, look, I think the most generous interpretation was he was incredibly irresponsible. He was like Limp Bizkit at Woodstock 99, right? He needed to dial it back a little bit. I'm just kidding. I don't think it was Limp Bizkit's fault. I think that the promoters and the bookers made all the wrong decisions. And Limp Bizkit's gonna Limp Bizkit, you know what I'm saying? But that's beside the point. Watch that documentary on HBO, it's amazing. I can't stop thinking about it clearly.
Took a turn.
It did. But we'll see how this lawsuit by Eric Swalwell goes. As we know, Mo Brooks, by the way, he's just not a smart person. Why would you admit that in this interview, that you were wearing the body armor? Why would you do it? Like Mo Brooks, Mo problems. Like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Maybe he had a Limp Bizkit, I don't know. But seriously, it is, I mean, like if you're trying to prove the point that you did not rile up violence, saying, oh, by the way, I was wearing body armor because I knew violence was coming, is not the smartest thing you could say.
Exactly. All right, this next story has me fired up, so let's do it. Progressives continue to pressure the Biden administration to cancel student loan debt. But House Speaker Nancy Pelosi either doesn't know what the executive branch is capable of based on current rules and laws, or she's lying to you, which makes her pretty dumb or feckless.
My prayers is that the Republicans will take back their party.
Things keep dripping out, drip, 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 and the truth comes out.
The truth comes out. So Pelosi has decided to run interference for Biden, to provide cover for Biden, and have you believe that Biden actually doesn't have the ability to do something that he does in fact have the ability to do. Without further ado, here's House Speaker Nancy Pelosi lying to the American public.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress. The president can't do it. So that's not even a discussion. Not everybody realizes that, but the president can only postpone, delay, but not forgive.
No. That's just not true. See, there's something called the Compromise and Settlement provision in the Higher Education Act. And this has been around for a long time. I admit that it's obscure, but this was the type of provision that was utilized under the Obama administration to make some pretty important student loan decisions, right? So for instance, instead of having students rely on private lenders that charge higher interest rates for student loans, the federal government decided to get much more involved in being the ones who actually give out the loans at a much lower interest rate, making the borrowing a lot less expensive and more attainable to people. Also, remember, during the Obama administration, the Department of Education decided to cancel the student loans of students who had been defrauded by for-profit colleges and universities. So they didn't have to go to Congress for that. Again, the Education Department was able to make that decision on their own. They have the discretion to do it. And so Nancy Pelosi is lying to you. And this provision has been around since the Eisenhower administration, okay? That's how long it's been around. Cenk.
Yeah, so I want to address a couple of things you said. So first of all, look, it's an uncomfortable topic, but a lot of these politicians are super old. So the reason I bring that up here is there is some, and this is damning with faint praise, but there's some chance that she wasn't lying, that she's just, and I've seen this in a couple of press conferences with her, she's just lost the thread. Because, and I'll tell you why, Anna, because normally Democratic leadership is in lockstep and they never go after each other, okay? But Chuck Schumer actually does want to cancel student debt, and he actually does know the law. And of course, he's a Senate Majority Leader, and the person that Pelosi probably works with the most, since she's the Speaker of the House, they're the two main leaders in Congress for the Democrats. So normally Pelosi would never call out Chuck Schumer by saying he's wrong on the law. Now, she didn't mention his name, but everybody knows in Washington that Chuck Schumer is in favor of this, which, by the way, give him credit. He's on the right side of this.
He is. Back in April, he told Joe Biden, urging him to cancel student loan debt. He said, all you need is the flick of a pen, right? So Schumer and Warren in the Senate are on the right side of this issue. I would like them to go further because they're calling for the cancellation of $50,000 in student loan debt. I want them to wipe out federal student loans. And I don't please spare me all of the whiny, centrist Democratic voters who are like, but I paid for my student loans and so I want everyone else to suffer. Like, buzz off, please. Everyone benefits by making it easier for people who are burdened with student loan debt to participate in our economy. A lot of them aren't even able to do the basics like buy a house, start a family. Like, everyone benefits from canceling the student loan debt. So stop being like a salty person, like get over it.
Well, I crossed the country in a horse and buggy. It took me 6 months, and these whippersnappers are taking a plane. That doesn't seem fair.
I mean, apply that logic to anything else. Like, oh, there's new cancer treatments. Well, there weren't cancer treatments around when family members of mine suffered. So no, anyway.
Okay,
go ahead.
So now back to look, there is again, if we're being honest, there is a liar in this story, and it is a Democrat. It's Joe Biden.
Yes.
Okay, Joe Biden said on the campaign trail that he was going to take out at least $10,000 worth of student debt from everybody, right? And he doesn't intend to do that at all. So the minute he got into office, he's like, oh, well, no, I want to, I would like to. But I mean, first of all, Congress should pass a bill. No, you could do it through executive action. Oh, could I? Uncomfortable because I really don't want to do it, I was lying. I needed a decision from the Department of Education. They got to write a memo. So I'm going to ask them for the memo. Okay, so he asked for the memo back in April. Where's the memo, Joe? I don't know where the memo is. No comment, no comment. Why? Probably the memo said, yes, you can do it.
Yeah, they know. Come on, Cenk, I can't believe you're being as generous as you are to Biden. Like, Biden was the vice president under the Obama administration when the education department under the Obama administration unilaterally decided to cancel the student loans of students who had been defrauded by for-profit colleges. They had the discretion to do that. Biden knows, he knows. Okay?
I like that you called me generous for saying he is most likely a liar.
I think that's too generous. I honestly do. On this issue, he's flat out lying to you. There is no maybe he's lying to you. He is lying to you. And so, look, I'm sorry. With Pelosi, I'll be comfortable with the phrasing of maybe she's lying to you. Very likely she's lying to you. But if I had to bet my bottom dollar, she knows. And I'm tired of this like weak argument. It's like the fallback statement by both Democrats and Republicans when they don't really know what they're talking about, which is according to the Constitution, Congress needs to do it because it sounds official. It sounds like it makes sense, right? But no, the Education Department has the discretion to make that decision. And by the way, the Education Secretary was nominated by who? By Joe Biden. So if Joe Biden applied pressure to the Education Secretary to do this, to cancel student loans, it would happen. It's not a difficult thing to do. And one final thing I want to know, the reason why they don't cancel the student loan debt, let's keep it real, okay? The federal government collects interest on those student loans. So just last year, $70.3 billion in interest on those federal student loans. So there's also a financial incentive to avoid canceling the student loan debt for the federal government, and that's pretty sick.
Yeah, the reason why I say Pelosi might be losing it as opposed to just flat out lying, by the way, I mean, you would never see any of this in the mainstream media. If Paul Krugman saw this, he'd have a heart attack. I once said that she took $720 million. And
he cried about it.
And he cried, he's like, that is a vile allegation. It's a fact, dude, look it up. You're supposed to be a journalist. So anyways, but she's gotten the law wrong like really badly several times in the last couple of years. And normally the Democrats are better at lying. Normally they have a slight, like a plausible deniability when they lie. So that the corporate media like Krugman and others can come in and go, oh, no, it could be, it could be.
Yes, Madam Speaker,
right?
yes, Madam Speaker.
Right, Madam Speaker, Queen, our beloved. Okay, we won't let anybody in the media criticize you. Anyways, in this case, she's so wildly wrong that's why it's embarrassing, and I think that it's a mistake on her part, at least strategically. Does she want the student loan debt canceled? Of course not. She's deeply conservative. She doesn't want Medicare for all. She doesn't want Green New Deal. Every once in a while, some good-meaning, well-meaning progressive will come and say, no, actually Pelosi's good on this issue. He ain't good on any issue. Okay, and by the way, I don't believe Chuck Schumer either. He's just worried that AOC's gonna run against him in the Senate, right? So that's why he's like, oh yeah, student loan debt. It doesn't matter, Biden will kill it. We all know Biden's gonna kill it. We know Biden's lying, right? So I'll pretend to be in favor of it. Warren actually does believe it, and she's been consistent throughout her career on it. But I'll give Schumer credit. If he fights for it, he passes it, or he gets Biden to do it, then I'll give him all the credit in the world, because all we care about is actually making sure you guys are okay. And that would be $10,000 you all save if you have a student loan debt. But one last thing. Anna mentioned, look, it's a bit of an obscure law that allows the president to wipe out this debt. First of all, did Trump mind using obscure laws?
No, he loved it.
Not, right? Yeah,
he liked using tools in his toolbox, right? I mean, Democratic presidents though, they pretend like they talk a big talk when they're campaigning, and then they're like, tools, what tools?
Yeah.
They throw the toolbox in the ocean, pretend like it doesn't exist.
And this is the same game that's been played for decades now. What Republicans tell you they're monsters, Democrats tell you they're angels, and then they come into office and do exactly what they're, or on economic issues, almost exactly what the Republicans do. Okay, but we got corporate rule in the first place that corrupted the Democratic Party. Why? Of an incredibly obscure, not even ruling by the Supreme Court, by an introduction to a Supreme Court case that the clerk got wrong. Every legal expert knows that the clerk got it wrong. And that was a decision that said corporations are people, according to the Constitution. Now the justice actually said the opposite. Now that is an obscure clerical error from the 1800s, and it dominates our political life. So nobody ever says, oh no, that's an obscure thing from the 1800s. We're not gonna listen to that, that's absurd. Of course corporations aren't human beings, right? But when it comes to helping you guys and wiping away student debt, I'd say it's obscure law, hey, we shouldn't do it, etc. And Biden, I mean, on the campaign trail, of course, Democrats are giant liars. We all sophisticated journalists know that, and so we excuse it because we just call it normal. No, it's not normal, it's awful. That's why people don't trust you anymore.
All right, we got to take a break, but when we come back, Senator John Kerry asks a Biden nominee whether he believes in God, as if that's relevant to serve any government position. We've got that story and more for you when we return.
All right, look, we're doing lots of things that require your participation today. So number one is make sure Nina Turner wins, ninaturner.com/hello. There's only 5 days left in the race. And volunteer for her if you can. Somebody called in, said one of our members saying, I'm dialing for her right now as a volunteer. So ninaturner.com. Number two, we're doing the petition to make sure that the progressives and Democrats don't get tricked into voting for the bipartisan deal, infrastructure deal, which is a mess. So please sign that petition. Go to tyt.com/petitions and then ask Democrats on Twitter, social media, call their office, whatever it is, very politely, guys. I don't want you to get mistaken for some other clowns in the world, okay? Very politely ask them, and a lot of them are already doing the right thing. But let's get them on the record saying, yes, I will not vote for the bipartisan deal unless we get the actual infrastructure deal. So tyt.com/petitions, love you for it.
By the way, and you don't have to very politely ask them, ask them like normal people, just don't threaten to show up to their houses to make them scared to death of you. That's the clownish behavior that doesn't actually substitute a real strategy in accomplishing the policy objectives that we want.
Yes, obviously some unhinged guy did that recently. Okay, anyways, now back to fun. So why did John promise to dye his hair, John Iadarola, purple if we get 1,000 gifted subs today on Twitch? Because he had Eblina Sabrina on. She's another Twitch star, and she was on TDR today, and she did the same thing, 1,000 gifted subs, and her hair was actually purple. And John's like, oh, I'll do it too. And by the way, she's at twitch.tv/Eblina Sabrina, and we love helping.
It's Abelina Sabrina, right?
Sorry, yeah, Abelina, my bad. But we love helping others and helping progressives like Nina Turner and other progressive hosts, and obviously the biggest star on Twitch news is a former TYT host, Hassan, right? And so help her out too. But meanwhile, John's in trouble. Shadow Wolf 10 subs, Elder Mind Pulse 20 subs, Seth Ian Rosen 5 subs, Mr. Mustachos 5 subs, Platinum Yeti 5 subs, Never Monday Band 2 subs, Desert Ice 10 subs, Forbesilla 5 subs, Shady Puppy 2 subs. Okay, it was already 875. It's now getting higher and higher, almost at 1,000. Ashes wrote it on Twitch. TYT hashtag too strong. I love that I found this network. Hashtag hello somebody. Go Nina. Thanks Anna, Jenk, John, Brent, Dr. Rashad, everyone. Cat named Crow says John is such a good sport. Can't wait to see his purple hair. Mischief of a Sleepwalker wrote in earlier. Just wanted to say I missed Jenk last week, but Anna was absolutely on another level.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys bigly.
Damn, I'm getting all hyped right now. I'm getting hyped. I'm feeling it.
In fact, let me go to our members. Crafton Timo says, dye the hair. Dye the hair, dye the hair. Silly Walks Minister says, looking forward to seeing Dragon Daddy purple. Back on TYT checking in. I love how all of you guys on all the different platforms are working together. So we're about to get John some purple hair on Twitch, twitch.tv/TYT. 1,000 gifted subs, we're almost there. Meanwhile, Nicolette Herades on YouTube Super Chat says, is this a hype train?
Oh,
I think it's something along those lines, a purple train for sure. I love it. Keep it going, guys. And later on Twitch, Anna and Jordan Yule on Deep Dive, another one of our shows, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you check that out. It's a fun show, twitch.tv/TYT. Oh, by the way, Rob wrote in kudos to Brett for the wonderful instructional video he did so you can get free membership on Twitch. Please keep your membership in other places as well. This doesn't cost you anything. But it gets us revenue, it gets us Jeff Bezos's money. That's why they call it #BezosBucks. It takes about 30 seconds. It's on tyt.com/prime. You learn how to do it. So that's free money for the progressive movement. Love it. All right, Anna.
All right, let's talk about John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy. GOP Senator John Kennedy decided to ask a curious question to one of Biden's nominees for the Justice Department. His name is Hampton Dellinger. And during his confirmation hearing, Senator Kennedy wanted to know if he believes in God. I wonder why. Let's watch.
Do you believe in God?
Senator, I have faith, I believe. I certainly.
A lot of people have faith.
Right.
Did it ever occur to you that some people may base their position on abortion on their faith?
Senator, I sincerely appreciate people who have a different position on abortion than I do.
You sure don't tweet it. Have you ever tweeted that?
Well, Senator, I'm saying it now under oath, and I do.
Yeah, you're up to be nominated. You want me to vote for you?
Well, Senator, I am determined to tell the truth, and if I could make clear, Senator, and I appreciate your question, your concern, that Senator, I recognize the difference between someone saying something, inartfully as a private citizen and working as a lawyer. And I think I've got a 30-year track record of being open-minded.
Okay, I get all that.
No, there are no winners here. Dellinger handled that poorly, to say the least. And Senator Kennedy is asking a question that's completely irrelevant to someone who is being confirmed for a government position because we live in a country that has a separation of church and state. So what is this about? Like, what prompted this? Well, apparently in a tweet from 2019, the DOJ nominee wrote about abortion, stating there were some Republican women and a handful of Democrats who want government, not women, to control women's bodies. But if there were no Republican men in elected office, there would be no abortion bans. So Kennedy then claimed the tweet suggested that anti-abortion Republicans only hold that stance because they are misogynistic. So he's like needlessly stretching and making it seem as though Dellinger said something that he didn't actually say. Garbage. Just Senator Kennedy part of this garbage, but Dellinger just shoot back and say this question is irrelevant for the position I've been nominated for. My religious beliefs, my faith, that's my personal business, and you can buzz off. How about that?
Yeah, there's two parts here. One is the weakness of the Democrats, and the other is the egos of the elites. So look, the religion part is, and what Kennedy said is outrageous. That's obvious to me, right? But so how could Hampton Dellinger have handled it differently? He could have said, Senator Kennedy, you know that in the United States Constitution, it says very clearly we shall not establish a religion, and that there should be no religious test for office. So I find your question deeply inappropriate and unconstitutional. Now that would have been a right way and a constitutional way to handle it, and that might have put him back on his heels. But why would that have been a problem? Because Democrats are told when they go into these hearings, bow your head and be a lapdog for Republicans. Never challenge them, okay? Because we need them. No, you don't. You don't need their votes for confirmation at all. You just need to get the Democrats. But they're worried, oh my God, if I offend Kennedy, Manchin might catch feelings because or maybe Sinema catches feelings on behalf of our corporate donors. And so since we're all in service of the Republican Party, whether we're pretending to be Democrats or not, Every Democrat has to go and castrate himself before Republicans when they're going for confirmation hearings.
I mean, can you imagine that line of questioning from Elmer Fudd and you just like shrivel up? Like he didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Just, I liked your answer a lot better, your proposed answer, right? I think it was civil yet strong, but basically any response that is stronger than what we just experienced with Dellinger there. And look, in the grand scheme of things, who cares? Like, is Dellinger getting confirmed gonna change your quality of life in any way? No, it's probably not. Very unlikely to change your quality of life. But what frustrates me about that exchange is what we keep seeing over and over again in government, whether it's local politics or on a federal level. Religion is not supposed to determine how we live our lives, period. No specific religion, no religion at all. You should have religious liberty. You should practice the religion that you feel drawn to. But if you don't want to practice any religion, you shouldn't have to. And we still live in an age where if you happen to be agnostic, you happen to be an atheist, it's incredibly difficult to get elected into either local office or certainly federal office. It's so, anyway, and then those religious beliefs end up seeping into the legislation that ends up getting passed. And then it affects our lives regardless of whether we believe in something or we don't. It's unacceptable.
Well, then there's the hypocrisy, right? So when Amy Coney Barrett was up for a lower judicial position, not the Supreme Court position, Dianne Feinstein asked her about her religion because she says she's guided by her religion. Well, if you're gonna go into the federal judiciary, well, and she has, she's in a cult, but you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to be polite and say a sect, an offshoot of Christianity where the wife pledges to serve her master, the husband, et cetera, et cetera. And so I don't know what her husband thinks. Do we have to pull him in to see? Because she said, I'm guided by whatever this is absurd, right? But Feinstein didn't go in any of that direction. She just asked one question about the religion. All of the Republicans lost it. Oh my God, how could you bring up religion in judicial nomination? In nomination proceedings. Oh, they brought up religion. Now John Kennedy brings up religion. Everybody's like, yeah, way to be, man, yeah. They're like, oh, is that guy even Christian? I don't know, man. Maybe he's a Jew or something, right? Or, oh my God, I'm a Buddhist. Atheist. I can't even believe the Democrats brought up religion. Like, they just don't care about hypocrisy.
No,
they don't care about it at all, right?
Of course they don't.
And if you push back at all, then John Kennedy's gonna say, my ego is, I am a senator. How dare you talk back to me? By the way, here's another answer. I'm pro-choice. I'm a Democrat. I said that tweet and I meant that tweet. So you're allowed to have your opinions on abortion. I'm allowed to have my opinions on abortion. And no, I do not agree with you. Do I have to agree with you to take a position in a Democratic administration? Next question, right?
Yeah.
But if you did that, all of Washington would melt. Oh my God, that is a beloved, cherished senator. He's an elite. You're not allowed to talk back to the elites.
Well, speaking of being elite, I just want to note that while Senator Kennedy acts like Elmer Fudd, in reality, he's a Rhodes Scholar. So he's not a dummy. He just presents himself as one to appeal to the Republican Party. And if I remember correctly, Senator Kennedy was a Democrat who switched party affiliation, right?
I think so, and so we covered that before. It slips my mind, but he did endorse John Kerry in 2004. I'm positive about that, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and once he shredded a Trump appointee for a judge position, but that was on the actual law. He asked him 3 simple law questions, and the guy had no idea. And he's been trying to make up for it ever since, because people, then the right wing was furious at him. How dare you ask simple legal questions? Trump gets to appoint his cousin if he wants to, and his driver and his chauffeur if he wants to. And so ever since then, John Kennedy went from tweaking and being slightly reasonable on 10% of the issues to being the dumbest guy on purpose. He went to Oxford.
Yeah.
He's not dumb.
Yeah, and I am right. It was just confirmed by Brett Ehrlich, thank you, Brett, that he did in fact switch parties.
Yeah, and so this is all an act by John Kennedy. And what frustrates me, as always, with the mainstream media is they never tell you he's acting. All these politicians are acting. Kennedy is acting dumb on purpose. And if Dellinger had challenged him in a very reasonable way, or just answered the question in an honest way, then Kennedy would have acted as if his ego was bruised and been like, oh, I'm offended. And that's why Dellinger comes in and goes, I'm so sorry, I said it inartfully. I meant to agree with you, master. I meant to agree with you, right? Look, we're tough on Dellinger. It's everybody does it, right? But the people who allowed the Kabuki theater to happen in the first place is the media. If they just said, Kennedy, this is an outrage. If all the media said, this is the most unconstitutional question we've ever seen in a hearing, then maybe he would be shy about doing it next time. Instead, they say, oh no, Dellinger should bow his head. That is a great elite senator.
When we come back from the break, probably one of my favorite Chris Cuomo interviews featuring a restaurant owner who will not allow people to eat at his eatery unless they have not taken the vaccine. I mean, it's just an insane story. Come right back.
Back on TYT during the social break. Beast Board just joined by hitting that join button below. You're awesome, Beast. Now we're going to our member section. Rogers Neighborhood says, how do I join/find out more info on these pressure campaigns that you're working on? I want in. I love that you want in. So look, you're already a member. So if we're doing tyt.com/change because we're trying to create a change machine. Okay, now that's for people to sign up to be part of the change machine, but to become members. Okay, you can also, by the way, if you sign up at $25 or more, we open up more $1.99 memberships for people who can't afford it. Okay, and so that way they get full membership, but it's just $2. And so we lose money on that, but the folks signing up $25 or more are subsidizing it. Okay, so but the point of the change machine, and I want to do it with that petition. Okay, is a lot of people do petitions, but then they float away in a cloud, okay? And so we're doing petitions and we wanna actually effectuate change, otherwise there's no point. So that's why I'm asking you to also send the petition to legislators, because if we can get a couple of them on the record, that would actually make a difference on whether the bills pass or don't pass. So, and this is the tip of the iceberg. The reason we're asking for people to become members or upgrade is so we can have enough resources to build out that machine, so we can have it step by step. Hey, we do the petition first, then you do this, then you do this, and then we get change. Then we actually get change. Otherwise, what's the point, right? And I love that you guys are participating in it. Okay, Rob, I want to come back and read his comment that I teased last time. He says, kudos to the highly effective video. Wait, Anna, we got something, hold on, what's going on here before I read Rob's comment?
People are already memeing John with purple hair. Okay. And my favorite, oh my God, my favorite is from, I think Yeetwood Mac made this, but it's your.
Oh no, oh no. That's my drawing of John, which should have never happened. Should have never happened, and now they made it purple. Okay, it's wrong, but if we get 1,000 gifted subs, John is gonna look just like that on Twitch. All right. Anyway, Rob says, kudos to the highly effective video tutorial narrated by Brett that shows Prime users how to get TYT for free. I write technical documentation for a living, and the target audience will benefit from this format rather than simply hoping they're technical enough to perform the task without some hand-holding, okay? So tyt.com/prime, and Brett walks you through about 30 seconds on how to give Jeff Bezos' money to us on Twitch. Nicole Smith, a wonderful a YouTube super chat person, writes in, his questions are unconstitutional. Nobody's supposed to be forced to prove their religious beliefs in order to obtain a government position. And then I want to really read this. Lepton Soup 337 wrote in on the earlier Mylan story out of West Virginia. We need leaders in Congress that punish companies for exporting jobs and degrading our supply chains. I can't even get basic lab materials for my research group, and this isn't getting any better. I love how smart you guys are, the smartest audience in the world. right, back on the Young Turks, Cheng and Anna with you guys. Maz Jobrani is going to be on the power panel tomorrow. That's great. Okay, and John, with or without purple hair, we're going to see. Okay, all right, Casper.
All right, so Chris Cuomo invited a restaurant owner from Orange County, California named Tony Roman on to discuss why he thought it was a good idea to put up a sign at his restaurant indicating that only individuals who haven't been vaccinated against coronavirus are allowed in. And he also recently paid for a ridiculous billboard, which I'll show you in just a second. It says, "Leave the mask, take the cannoli." Clever. This is Basilico's Pasta e Vino. And this restaurant owner apparently wants a lot of attention. Chris Cuomo decided to give it to him. Let's watch the first clip from the interview.
But here's what I'm asking you, Tony.
I love it.
Is this a little bit of a joke? Can you give me some hope that you really don't want people to not get vaccinated so they can come to your restaurant?
That's a good question. You're a smart guy. It's an IQ test. And like I say to people when they ask me, if they're so blinded with their rage and their hate, I tell them, you know what, if you still don't understand it, maybe we should put up a sign up that says you're too stupid to come into the restaurant. I mean, it's very simple. Just like you said, I think you figured it out. Am I right?
I don't even know what you're saying right now. Tell me, so what's the deal?
I'm saying we're making a point.
And so
you answered the question.
So you haven't been vaccinated. Nobody in your family's been vaccinated.
If I answer that, are you going to answer that when I ask you?
Yeah, sure. Ask me whatever you want. Now answer my question.
I'm not vaccinated. Are you?
I am. How about your parents, your wife, your kids?
You were hesitant.
No, I got vaccinated.
I'm going to ask you the same. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Is that all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Is your family vaccinated?
Yes.
See, what you're not getting, you're failing the IQ test. What you're not getting, which I expected, what you're not getting is that this is not an anti-vaccine stand. It's a pro-freedom stand. That's what you're not getting.
That went well. That went really well.
Okay, so a bunch of things. I love that he calls it an IQ test. I actually agree with him. He just wants you to have low IQ in order to go into his restaurant. He's like, you're failing the IQ test. You're too smart. We don't want you. We only want sick people here that spread disease. He says, this isn't about the vaccine, this is about freedom. But wait a minute, the freedom to not take the vaccine. By the way, let's note for the record that it is not illegal. Nobody passed a law saying you have to take the vaccine.
No, it's tyranny, Cenk. The vaccine is tyranny.
Suggesting that you save your life and your parents' life?
Tyranny.
Tyranny. Suggestion is not taking away your freedom. It's like, I don't even want you to suggest anything smart. This is an IQ test. Okay, now look, this whole thing about freedom, it really is about IQ because it's such a simple talking point and only works on people who are really not that bright. So you can do the same thing with the Black Plague, right? With the plague or Black Death, right? So Black Death in the 1300s killed 75 million to 200 million people.
Jeez.
And so you could say, well, it's my freedom, if they had vaccines back then. It's my freedom not to take the vaccine against Black Death. Well, that's true, but we're suggesting you take it so you don't die like everyone else in Europe, right?
Yeah.
And so, no, I want freedom. Dude, you have the freedom. We're also trying to save your life. And so, but people fall for it. They just fall for it. Oh, I got the freedom to step in front of a Mack truck. That's true, you do, but I wouldn't suggest it. Right?
I know, but the fact that you're not suggesting it, maybe that's tyranny too, Cenk. No, but okay, let's unpack things that need to be unpacked because apparently, while he's calling everyone else stupid, he's failing to understand that his actions and the actions of like-minded individuals will very likely lead to another round of shutdowns. Because now we're seeing coronavirus spike all throughout the country, certainly in counties and states that are led by Republican politicians. And look, we live in the same country and we're dealing with a global pandemic. And so while people refuse to get vaccinated and while this virus continues to mutate and spread even among vaccinated people now, it's creating more of a problem, especially for restaurants like his that might need to shut down again. So I get it, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all of it. I'm sick of wearing masks. I'm sick of the mask up, don't mask up. We're gonna do this, we're not gonna do that. Okay, never mind, we changed our. I know it's super annoying. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. But here's the thing, we would have been out of it already if people just did what they were supposed to do. Take it seriously, get the vaccine, mask up when you're supposed to mask up, and let's just be done with it. But they're the ones who decided, no, we're gonna needlessly refer to this as tyranny when it's not. We're gonna needlessly make this more difficult than it needs to be, and we're gonna make this go, I don't know, another 6 months? How much longer are we gonna deal with this crap? How much longer? How much longer? I like freedom too, I want freedom.
Yeah.
I want freedom, but I can't be free because these idiots refuse to just do the simple. Really, more than 50% of Americans are fully vaccinated already. So do you think 50% of Americans are gonna die? You think they're all magnetized? You think it's like, what's wrong with these people?
Yeah, so.
It's like a giant class project and you have all the awful students on your team. I'm so like, oh
Spoken
God.
like a true nerd. This is an IQ test, man. We're not gonna pass that assignment. So look, I wanna double down on what Anna said. I don't like the masks and I hated the shutdowns. When we had that brief window where it looked like we were past it and they opened back up, I went to the movie theater and I had popcorn.
Nice. So nice.
I saw Black Widow. I was like so excited. It was such a great day. It was such a great day. Okay, but now we're back to masks. Why? Because the cases in LA and cases everywhere going straight back up, and some of the worst numbers we've ever had. Okay, now you say, well, oh yeah, it's happening in LA too. Hey, as LA is obviously more liberal, right? But that doesn't mean there are no conservatives here. Orange County is filled with conservatives.
We live in one country. It's a global pandemic. It is a virus that spreads. People have been traveling. Like, stop being stupid. I just want people to stop being stupid about it. And guess what? Like, the guidelines are fluid depending on what's happening with the virus. So since we're seeing the virus increase now, or the number of new cases increase, unfortunately we have to go back to masks. I hate it. Nobody wants it, but we didn't have to get to this point if people just got vaccinated. Other countries are doing everything they can to get their hands on vaccines, but entitled, selfish, childish, juvenile Americans are like, no, I don't want to get the vaccine. No, we have to play all these stupid games with people like, oh, please do it. Well, you'll be a participant in a raffle for a gun because you're a child and we need to treat you like one to just get the stupid vaccine. I'm done with it, I'm tired of it.
No, I'm starting to hate the giveaways. Like, so
I can't stand it.
Smart people got the vaccine right away, but for dumb people, we're like, oh, come on, we'll give you $100, we'll put you in a lottery. Okay, Johnny, you wanna do it? Come on, please. So, by the way, this guy is in Orange County. So, idiots that go into his restaurant and idiots that run the restaurant are spreading potentially spreading the disease all over Southern California. And so, look, guys, why do I have to put masks back on in LA when I'm vaccinated? Remember the most important stat, 99.5% of the deaths now are for the unvaccinated. So we have to do it because my kids aren't vaccinated. Now it's
we can still spread it.
Yeah, it's a lower risk for my kids. It's a lower risk but some people have immunoproblems, right? They're immunocompromised. So they might have the vaccine, but a lot of people who have the vaccine, less people who have the vaccine get it. Like I have Johnson & Johnson, so I have a 66% chance of not getting it, but I have a 1/3 chance of getting it. So now, when you're vaccinated, it's not that big a deal. Almost nobody goes to the hospital and almost nobody dies. We're trying to save your lives, you morons. Okay, but I'm past that. But on top of that, what if somebody who's vaccinated gets it and they're immunocompromised? And what if they're a friend of mine? What if it's my kids, etc., right? What if it's somebody else's kids? Because, oh, you want freedom. I want a cannoli and freedom. I'm gonna get to spread the disease to everybody like a moron. Why? Because there might be a microchip in the vaccine. 20% of the country believes it. We live with total morons, okay? 20% of the country, that's millions, tens of millions of people, like the guy you just saw, the Neanderthal you just saw there, right? And he's like, oh, there might be a microchip. Idiot, there's a microchip in your phone, you moron. Okay, anybody can follow you around. You're so stupid. Oh, it might, no, it's not properly tested. It might cause health problems. You know what causes health problems? Coronavirus. Over 4 million dead across the world, 630,000 dead in America. And what do they say? Every doctor is in Arkansas and all these other places. They say before people die,
they ask for the vaccine.
They say, is it too late? Can I get the vaccine? And the doctors have to tell them while crying, and to have to tell their family members, no, you can't get the vaccine after you already got coronavirus. It's too late.
Why is this the generation I needed to be born in? Why? Like economic collapse, climate change, a freaking pandemic. It's nonstop. It's nonstop. And it's at a time when the country is so divided that we can't get any type of agreement, teamwork, cooperation, collectivist action on anything. Anything, even something as serious as saving human lives. It's unbelievable. One more video from this, let's watch.
So what's next then? Are we all gonna lock ourselves in our homes whenever there's a flu outbreak or there's an outbreak of a common cold? Are we gonna lock ourselves inside our homes and wear a moon suit? I mean, where does it end?
It ends with you getting the vaccine so that this virus doesn't keep replicating and creating variants that we need to find ways to combat. The whole reason this is happening is because people won't protect themselves, Tony. I mean, what are you thinking?
Then why did you leave your house when you had COVID? I mean, you had it and you left your house. I mean, it's been documented.
First
right?
of all,
so
it has been documented. My ass, it's been documented. I quarantined. I went out. My wife got accosted by somebody.
I don't know, man.
And I know you don't know, so I'm trying to help you. The science is clear, Tony.
Trying to help me.
I don't want you to get sick the way I was sick.
The science is clear. Oh, you care about me all of a sudden, huh?
Enough to have you on the show because I don't like people making bad decisions for themselves and their family.
Tony, go take a nap. He looks tired. He's grumpy. He needs a blankie and a binky. He's like so fired up about just something so basic. And I get it. Look, it's the information about COVID has been confusing at times, right? Unfortunately, we have very few. We have few ways to decipher who's spreading disinformation for profit, and unfortunately, there's a lot of that. And then people were trying to do the right thing and get the correct information out there to people. It's been a complete and utter disaster from the very beginning, especially in the United States, where money and profits always take priority over human lives. And that's probably the situation with this guy. He didn't like the fact that his restaurant needed to shut down. I don't like the fact that his restaurant needed to shut down during COVID. I don't like the fact that it's likely his restaurant's gonna need to shut down again because of the crap that he engages in.
Yeah, I love how stupid people are. It's like, where does it stop, man? You try to save my life because you say don't step in front of a Mack truck. Now the next thing you're gonna say is don't step in front of a Ford or a Toyota. Where does it stop? Now you don't want me to step in front of a Kia? Oh, come on, man. Where does it stop? You trying to help me when I'm this dumb. Where does it stop? That's what you look like, Tony. You look like a moron, a grade A moron. By the way, there's some people, again, pretending to be on the left that go on Tucker Carlson's show. It happened recently, and they go on there and question vaccines and help Tucker question vaccines. They might be jagoff comedians. I don't know anything, man. I'm an idiot comedian. Hey, Tucker, I'll help you get people killed. Okay. By the way, this jagoff Tony went on Laura Ingraham's show after Cuomo's show and was like, I got him, didn't I? No, you didn't, Tony. You're one of the dumbest people I've ever seen. Okay, by the way, in blue counties, cases are 126 new cases per 100,000 residents. In red counties, it's 278 new cases per 100,000. So more than twice as much cases in red counties versus blue counties. There are Trump voters, there are idiots like Tony in blue counties, but there's a lot more of them in red counties. And guess what? Now Republicans are panicking because they're killing off their own voters. And they're worried, oh my God, if enough Republicans die because we're this stupid, we might not be able to win elections. I'm glad you came around finally on self-interest, at least for some of the politicians. All right, we have a ridiculous bonus episode for you guys, including on whether John is gonna get that purple hair. Hit that join button below, tyt.com/join. We'll see you there in a minute for the members. You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now, these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like tyt.com/join, and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny Pie. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, aka Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
All right, welcome to Dr. Rashad Richard Indisputable. This is going to be quite interesting. I don't know if you can handle this much truth on any day of the week. The unrest inside of the black community and communities that support them. It's because these cops are not held accountable.
You have a family calling 911, and that family is expecting help, not expecting their loved one to be killed by the very people they pay to protect and serve them.
Did you ever notice a cop that you work with call any black person the N-word or target people because they were black? Nope. But we disagree that somehow police officers are not also subject to the same systemic biases and racism as any other level of law enforcement.
It sounds like for everybody's need who wants to crucify the cops without looking at it.
No, crucify bad cops, brother.
Of course,
cops.
We don't need the government to step into our lives mandating that we should be wearing a mask.
You think you putting on a mask, Trey, is government intrusion, but you don't think the government telling a woman what she can or cannot do with her body is a government intrusion.
Where does life begin?
You want to go there? I can read it to you, brother.
You seem very well prepared. Certainly more.
Of course, why would I not be well prepared? They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform throughout this country, so I won't stop, and you won't stop either.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
Similin the Kind Dragon gifted 5. Kodiak Draco gifted 5. Juro gifted 5.
Purple hair. Purple hair.
Oh no, you're gonna have to tell me what your color is because I gotta make it match if I'm gonna do this. I might do it very briefly because you're all being very nice and very supportive, but the joke is not on me, it is on you. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it so much.
No, we're gonna love it.
Well, we'll see, we'll see. The joke is not on me, it is on you. You're gonna hate it.
All right, guys, before we do anything else, I gotta let you know the news, okay? Did we make it on Twitch? Did we make it to 1,000 subs so that John has to do purple hair? 1,058.
That's so good. No, the real question is, what shade of purple will it be?
Interesting, huh?
Can't wait.
The joke is not on me, it is on you. You're gonna hate it.
No, we do not.
Wrong. We're gonna love it.
We do not.
I don't know, man. Is he really gonna do it? He said it. He said it. He should be careful what he says.
Oh my gosh. You can't make promises you're not willing to keep. And John is a man of his word. So I believe in him. I think he's gonna do it. But I think it should also be a teachable moment for him. Don't ever doubt our viewers because they're too strong.
Indeed, that exactly is the right lesson to learn here. Yeah, so I guess he's gonna be eating some Johnny Humble Pie.
Ooh. Whoa, we're on a roll.
Okay, in fact, John said to the audience, I'll be your Huckleberry.
The joke is not on me, it is on you. You're gonna hate it.
We'll see about that, John.
What was the name of that Western, by the way?
Tombstone.
Tombstone, yeah. Okay. All right. That was fun. Let's talk about, well, we got to do a send-off. Very important send-off. So let's do that. It is Meghan McCain's final day at The View. She has decided to step down from her hosting duties to move to Washington, D.C. and be a mother and a wife. She needs a little bit of a break from the media. And so we wanted to do the right thing and offer a send-off. She's given us a lot of content that we've focused on this show in the past years. And so let's just remember what that content looked like.
Please welcome our new co-host, Meghan McCain.
I think what's exhausting is coming on the show every day and being told that Republicans don't care about anything. We just want people to die. We want children not to be educated. Nothing matters. Every woman on this show, at one point or another, cancel culture has tried to remove one of us from this show for one reason or another. And by some miracle, we're all still here. And I think the greatest miracle is still me. As the only Republican in mainstream media, when you talk like that, it puts us on the defense. In places, I think even as me, just like the only conservative in the entire world left on mainstream media. The American experiment is the way to go. And if we have two American women, Meghan Markle and Oprah Winfrey, who are single-handedly finishing what George Washington and our revolutionary counterparts did, I'm all for it.
Okay.
Well, we've had a bunch of liberal guests who do not want to send in aid at all.
I listen to you. Let me just finish.
Yeah, part of your job is to listen to me.
I just want to let me just finish what I'm saying.
Well, with all due respect, I don't care if he's apologizing. He just embarrassed himself.
I don't care that you don't care. Just hear what I'm saying.
I don't care that you don't care.
We're gonna go. Well, then good, Meghan. Then you can be how you always are. We'll be right back.
You can be how you always are.
A lot of these people that you're talking about, Meghan, are watching Sean Hannity.
They're not.
Who's telling them and Tucker Carlson, who are telling them that it's danger. Excuse me, can I please
happen in Los Angeles and New York?
And come right back.
So we should care a little bit. I know everyone's saying Reddit and all these things don't matter, but they do matter to a lot of people, and it could have. I can hear you laughing, Joy, but there are real bottom line implications and ramifications for this.
I'm not laughing at you.
Well, I just can hear you laughing in my ear. Joy, you don't have to be, you don't have to be so snippy with me today, Joy. You really don't. I'm talking because I'm paid to talk and it's my job, and that's what I'm doing, Joy. And if you have a problem with it, I don't have to come to work today.
We're gonna miss her.
Are we? So look, I am actually torn on it. I'm gonna get weirdly substantive for a second because we're just supposed to have fun with this. But
I can't believe there's anything substantive that you could possibly say about this. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, sure, of course there is. Look, I want to address the serious points that Meghan was making. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, look, 40% of the country is conservative, and it is wrong to exclude them from the public conversation. So you do need a Meghan McCain type of person, but it is infuriating because they're almost always wrong. They're like, the arguments are preposterous, they get the facts wrong. And there's a sense of entitlement, especially with Megyn, because her dad was a senator. I don't know if you guys know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she hardly ever brings it up.
Yeah.
We could have done a whole different compilation on like my dad, and my dad says this, and my dad.
Oh, those compilations exist already.
Yeah.
So just Google it.
Yeah, and obviously she got the job because of that. Does anybody out there think that there was even a 1% chance that she would have gotten that job if her dad wasn't John McCain?
So yes, look, I think that plays a huge role, but I also think that Meghan McCain was perfect for the role of the conservative panelist on The View. Not because I think she had sophisticated arguments or added much to the debate or conversation, but because, look, there's a difference between wanting to do a substantive panel show where you're doing these deep dives into incredibly important topics, right? This is an entertainment show at the end of the day. And there's nothing more entertaining than to watch the, snipping at each other and she's the heel. Like she's the member of the panel that I think most members of the audience love to hate, right? Just based on, there wasn't a single YouTube video from The View that wasn't completely littered with like anti-Meghan McCain comments. And look, to be fair, I actually do want to give her some credit for doing the show as long as she did it, because that stuff does crush people. A lot of people can't handle that kind of hate on a daily basis, and so I'm sure that that's part of what exhausted her from that job and why she decided to step down.
No, that's a really good point. And what's got to hurt more is that in that case, the critique is correct, and that probably stings more, right? So like everybody gets critiqued if they're, have a public role. We've been known to get critique from time to time, but that bothers me a lot less, if at all, right? Because it's absurd. So it's easy to brush off, right? So right-wing critique is always easy. Like they're like, oh yeah, well, did you think about that maybe you're serving Satan because of the microchips and Fauci's virus? I'm like, yeah, I thought about that and immediately dismissed it because you're nuts. And the old days when they say, oh, you're a brown buffalo. I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. Like, oh yeah, you're brown, correct, right? Yeah. Easy to dismiss. Now there's all left, easy to dismiss. Like, oh yeah, dictators win with 95% of the vote, if you say so. Right. Okay, anyways, but for her, the critique is largely correct. And I'm sure there was like personal attacks that are not fair. Of course, there's probably a million
there's
of
always
those,
that, yes.
Right, and so that's got to be tougher. It's got to get under your skin a little bit. And so is there a way to do this, to have real conservatives on and give voice to a significant portion of the population without it being comical and absurd the way that Megyn did it, right? And the answer is these days, no. There used to be a way to do it, now there isn't. So let me explain. So I used to be Republican back in the day. We've talked about this when I was in school, etc. And I was a liberal Republican, so on social issues I was liberal, but on economic issues and legal issues when I was going to law school, I was conservative. So, but now there's a twist here, right? But so in law school, one of the professors didn't want to hear from me, and that was original cancel culture in a sense. But most of the professors were great. They were liberals, they were progressives, etc. But they would always call on me to get the different perspectives. So in a sense, if you will, and this is unfortunate, and I shouldn't say this, but I was the Meghan McCain of my law school, right? And I was annoying like her. I'm constantly raising my hand. Oh, professor, I don't think you thought about this. Okay, but we would have realistic conversations. So one of the things I remember challenging the professors on was, super ironically, qualified immunity. They're like, oh, the police have to have immunity from civil lawsuits, and because you have to not only protect the rights of the defendant, but you have to make sure that that police are also protected, and they had some theoretically progressive explanation for that. But I didn't believe it. I didn't think it made sense, and it turns out I was right. The actual progressive position is no, they should have qualified immunity, and now progressives agree with that position, right? But that was an interesting conversation, right? That was an intellectual back and forth, and you might have disagreed with me on something else, you might have disagreed with me on that, but we were having an actual conversation about the topics.
Right.
Now, the reason why I say it's not possible now is because there are no thoughtful Republicans left. That's why I left the Republican Party. That's why almost everyone I know has left the Republican Party. Because now the Republican Party is ban Muslims. The immigrants are brown and black. They shouldn't come into the country. They're making us dirty, okay? And and they believe a madman like Trump, and they think like a majority of Republicans think that Biden did the January 6th Capitol riot. A majority, I think it's like 63%. I mean, so it's not Megyn. Anyone who is representing the current maniacal Republican Party has to say absurd things. There are no principled conservatives left. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah, so the next person they're gonna get, and by the way, the producers are also picking people based on what's gonna create the most fights. If you bring on an intellectual conservative, not that there's like a single one left in the country, but if you brought one on who was measured and calm, there wouldn't be as many fights, right? And you wouldn't get to see a compilation like that. So it's a combination of those factors. But they're gonna bring on another conservative, and we're gonna make fun of her because she's gonna be ridiculously wrong, because that's the current state of the Republican Party.
Okay, let's move on. So John has been texting me. And so the first thing he texted me was just like the emoji that has like the straight mouth, like, like, and I just said, "We love you, haha." And then he's like, "So how many subs for you to dye your hair green?" And I just told him, "LOL, I don't make promises like that."
Oh.
You think I would ever suggest that I would do anything like that to my hair for this company? No. I love this place. I'm not messing with my hair.
So, we did that fun thing outside where we did the dunk contest and stuff, and you throw this stuff. And so a lot of us, you didn't do it, right?
No.
Of course not. Okay, but Brett did it, John did it, I did it, right? And now knuckleheads who think that they're,
they use it against you.
They use it like, oh yeah, you got dunked. Yeah. we were having fun. And who was it? Somebody cheated to dunk me.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember. But like they missed, and then someone like pressed the button or whatever. Yeah.
Now, you know what I did? I laughed because that was the point.
Yeah.
Okay, we were having fun.
Whereas the person who was using that to make fun of you would throw like a nuclear temper tantrum and probably physically assault people.
God, could you imagine if we dunked that guy? Okay.
No, I don't want to imagine that.
Oh, he would lose
he dunks on himself every single day. But anyway, all right, but let's move on because I really wanted to talk about something. I have a topic. I've been thinking about it nonstop ever since I watched it last night. So Woodstock 99.
Oh.
Woodstock 99 is part of a docu-series on HBO. This is the first episode of the docu-series, and Woodstock 99 was a music festival in Rome, New York in 1999. I knew nothing about it, right? Until I watched this documentary last night after it was recommended by Bart Kyle and Craig. We were talking about it yesterday while sipping on some coquito. And
I'm gonna interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this story. But one of my favorite things ever happened recently. Bart always makes movie suggestions, and they're really good ones, right? Yeah. He doesn't just do music. He also does movies.
He does do movies.
And his previous job was in the movies in a sense. And so then I made a movie suggestion back to him the other day, and he's like, "You don't got a life to live, Cenk. I'm not just gonna sit around watching movies."
Cenk, I can't spend all my waking hours watching movies because I have this thing called the life.
I love it. Okay,
sorry.
So, no, it has inspired me to the point where I'm actually gonna do my decode segment for Jacobin Weekends on the experience economy.
Huh.
Yeah, so check that out. You're gonna get Cornel West interview, and you're gonna get that sweet decode segment. You don't want to miss it.
Okay.
But anyway, but okay. So I mean, look, it's a thing that happens. So there aren't really spoilers here. But if you don't want to know, then now's a good time to dip out. But this is a good conversation. So basically, like the whole point of the Woodstock 99, it's like a callback to the original Woodstock, whatever. But like the culture at the time was obviously very different, and the way that the event was organized or planned was not smart. Okay, because what they decided to do was target a very specific demo, and it was incredibly young white guys who are in the middle of, just young male angst and like anger and like testosterone, all of that stuff. So they also decided to they only booked 3 female artists for the entire 3-day festival. So 1 woman performer every day. So Alanis Morissette, Jewel was one day, Sheryl Crow. That's it. Those were the only females.
Man, isn't it ironic?
And like they weren't headliners. They had the women booked like earlier in the day, and the headliners were like Metallica, Limp Bizkit, like just really angry. Like, look, I actually like some of this music, right? Yeah. So I'm not hating on it, but it's like you need to kind of mix it up, because if it's all like find something to break and like crazy angry, it turned into a massive riot.
Oh, really? I forgot.
Dude, it's so amazing. But like the reason why I love it is like that's the core of the whole thing. But there are so many themes that are fascinating, right? Especially, I don't know, once you start seeing things through like a materialist lens, like you can't stop seeing everything through that lens, right? So just like the maximize profit, minimize losses, or whatever, minimize costs. So like oh my God, they like really screwed over those festival goers. Like they decided to do it on a military base in the middle of, I believe it was summertime or something. It was really hot, right? So it's like hot season. We're gonna do it at a military base. Oh, it's great facilities, wonderful facilities, except it's not, because you have asphalt, which of course increases the ground temperature. People are super hot.
Oh my God, yeah, it's such a bad idea.
It's super, super hot. They don't have like, they had free water, but really they had these like massive barrels that had like water like shooting out of it. And people are supposed to use that water to drink, right? So they don't get dehydrated. But there were like, the showers were so crappy that people were showering in those barrels of drinking water. Oh, it was like, and then like if you wanted to purchase water, remember it's 1999. $4 for a bottle of water in 1999. I mean, $4 is ridiculous today. So imagine in 1999 when you have all these like young people there who are like, no. And by the way, the water was the same price as the beer. So a lot of these young kids are like, why am I gonna spend $4 on water when I can spend $4 on beer? I mean, it was
That's gonna work out well.
Please watch it, because I think that there's like obviously a capitalist critique of what happened. And it's just a fascinating thing that happened in American history that I didn't know about. And I loved the way the documentary was done. It was fascinating. And our very own Aaron Wysocki was there. He was there.
Really?
And so I actually want to book him on an episode of The Conversation to ask him all the stories. Ask him about all the stories.
Okay, he wasn't in the movie. He just
No. He was at the music festival, Cenk.
Right.
No, but you have to watch the documentary to understand why that's a big deal.
Is there some chance that Aaron, commander of the armies of the East, started the riot?
No. Okay, I asked him. I was like, because he's the most mild-mannered person you'll ever meet. Always calm. I've never seen him lose his temper ever. And like, so I was like, oh, did you have anger issues when you were younger? I thought maybe that was the like life-changing experience he had. He had anger issues. He went into the mosh pit. He got into a riot. And then he's like, you know what? I'm a changed man. I'm done with this. But he's like, no, of course I didn't go into the mosh pit. I would have died. And he's like, but I did do some crowd surfing, which shocked me. Just absolutely shocked me that he did that. Anyways, it's fascinating. You guys should check it out. It's on HBO. I'm not getting paid to say this. It's a genuine recommendation.
Yeah. Oh, real fast, going back to the motive of profit for the promoters. One of the main reasons why they wanted to do Woodstock 99 at that installation is to make sure that they wouldn't have gate crashers from the previous festivals before, because the original Woodstock and then the Woodstock 94, the promoters, they lost money because people were crashing the gates and getting in for free. So they were thinking, oh, let's go to this facility because it's like a secure, it's almost like
a military base.
It's like a penitentiary, exactly.
Yeah, there's like, you can, I don't know what those things are called, where there's like a massive pillar and then there's a seat on the top and then
Tower?
like, Yeah, the tower. Like, it's a military base.
It's like
so
it's a guard.
A watchtower.
Guard tower.
Yes,
watchtower,
that's
exactly.
what I meant. So there's a watchtower, and you can make sure you're like keeping your eyes on all areas, so no one's like sneaking in, right? So there's that, element to it as well. And they were like happy about that.
So you guys are telling me to watch it.
You're gonna love it. I loved it.
I got a life, Anna. I can't sit around watching all the movies you recommend, okay? Okay, so look, Aaron is the general of the Felix Legion. So it's possible that, he had his troops, helping him with the crowd surfing. So it's possible. So look, here's my favorite part of the story. Anna's telling the story like 99 is ancient history,
but it kind of is, Cenk.
Remember back in the 1840s, right? Pre-Civil War. I remember growing up, Prince in the mid 80s had the song, "We're Gonna Party Like It's 1999."
Yep.
And I remember thinking, that'll never happen. 99, that's forever from now. I thought 99 was so futuristic, right? When Prince came out with that song, party like it's 1990. Yeah, come on, man, that's gonna take forever to get there. Now it's remember how far back 1999 was?
Dude, we're more than halfway through 2021.
I know, then
no, we're gonna die, everyone.
Flying by.
We're all gonna die.
Well,
we have to enjoy every moment on this planet. I know, there's awful things happening, okay? Freaking Tony refuses to get vaccinated in Orange County, California. Freaking
It's an IQ test, Anna. It's an IQ test, okay? I mean, I didn't get vaccinated. I'm gonna ask you a question. Did you get vaccinated? He's like, yeah,
he thought
that was a gotcha.
I know, he's like, I got him. And Cuomo was just like, yeah, I got vaccinated. Did your family get vaccinated? Yeah. Okay.
I bet he didn't, huh? It's an IQ question.
He just wants to enjoy his gabagool without the tyranny, okay?
Yeah, give me some mutts, okay? It's an IQ thing. You wouldn't understand. So I remember when I was growing up, apparently many centuries ago, millennia ago, we had just survived the plague, and so no, I remember hearing about Woodstock in '69, and we were told it in a way that now is funny looking back at it. So there was a real feeling of liberation and free love, etc. But now that I'm a grown up and I've read a little bit of the history of it, etc. What it was that everything was so stifled in the past, in the 1950s, etc., 40s, 50s, and then still into the 60s, that when they had any kind of freedom in '69, it felt like, oh my God, right? Total liberation and freedom and free love and all that stuff. But if you see the stats on people having sex, people had more sex in the 80s than they had in '69, but we didn't know that. We thought, oh, that was the golden age. So when you were a teenager growing up in Jersey, okay, you're like, oh man, they had it so good.
How do you know that people had more sex in the 80s versus?
I think we did a story on it. That's why.
Oh, I don't even remember.
But I know, because that was probably like 17 years ago, right? That we did the story. Anyway, but I had kind of like my cousin's version of that. You remember that I told you a story? My cousin in Turkey thought, oh, everybody has sex nonstop in America.
Yes, I do remember that story.
And I told him, no, that's not true. I live in America, right? And he's like, you're an idiot. I don't believe you, okay? It's an IQ test, Cenk, okay? And it's a funny story because he says, no, I know. If you go to the airport in America, the women lift up their skirts and say, have sex with me. I'm like, I've been in like dozens of airports. That never happens. You're insane, right? He says, that's an IQ. All right, anyway. So that's like the Turkish teenager version back whenever that was of America, right? And I had the similar version of Woodstock in my mind in 1969, right? And there was the song, who was the Bryan Adams song about summer of '69? Yeah. And so there's all of that mythology about the summer of '69 in Woodstock. So when I was a horny teenager growing up in the '80s, I'm like, oh man, Woodstock! Oh, I wish I could go. And so that's why when they did '99 Woodstock, my rough recollection is like, oh, I wish I could have been there.
Well, they did a Woodstock they did Woodstock '94, and that actually ended up being wonderful because it was, it was baby boomers who experienced the original Woodstock.
Yeah.
And at that point, they have their own children, and they brought their children to the '94 one, and it went out. It was great. It was perfect. Everything was fine, right? But by 1999, like the music and culture also changed as well, because there was this like counterculture to the teen bop or the teen pop that had kind of dominated the billboards, right? Like the Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears. So you have, I think it's called nu metal, right? The emergence of nu metal, and like Limp Bizkit. I mean, literally his lyrics were, "Give me something to break. All right, I'll punch your effing face." Like,
well, one of my favorite concerts was Guns N' Roses. I was a little bit earlier than that, but they were. Well, the act that was opening them for them was Soundgarden, and we'd never heard of Soundgarden before because this was actually earlier '90s. And they come out and they're like, "This song is dedicated to a friend of ours who's got a birthday coming up." Jesus Christ, right? And then they get into a super heavy metal, and then another song was they just fuck you. We're like, yeah.
Totally. So look, when you're in a giant crowd and it's like one band after the next where it's just music like that, and you're hot, you're dehydrated, you're frustrated, you're grumpy, and you're hearing lyrics about how like effed up the world is and how it's unfair, and yeah, a bunch of young white guys are gonna start like literally breaking shit, and that's what they did.
Okay, super last thing. The reason I brought up that like pent up, like there's fantasies of '69 Woodstock is because all those guys are probably around my age at the, growing up. Then they go to this thing expecting free love, and instead what they get is expensive water and a hot pavement and dudes telling them to break stuff, right? And there's almost no women around, so they're like, let's fight.
Totally. Well, and there were some women there, and that's a super dark part of the documentary. I don't even want to talk about that. You can watch for yourselves. But yeah, I mean, it was your generation that went to Woodstock '99, Gen X. You guys never get any heat, but you deserve it when it comes to Woodstock '99.
Well, I didn't do it, man. It wasn't me.
All right, we gotta go.
Okay, we gotta go. So Deep Dive with Jordan Uhl, Anna's on. It's coming up right now, twitch.tv/TYT. Oh, by the way, speaking of Twitch, Ravana, who's one of our viewers on Twitch, got a show on Twitch for us and is gonna be on the Power Panel tomorrow.
What?
So whoop whoop. All right, so Anna, I'll see you in a minute. I'll see you tomorrow.
The joke is not on me, it is on you. You're gonna hate it.